Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a sun-drenched Mondello Park. It's not often we get the weather, but this weekend it's very just because we have the craziest event we have ever imagined here in Mondello Park. Right now, we head to the prize fight. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we've come a long way in drifting. Right now, those guys lining up on that grid are competing for €20,000 winner takes all. Imagine 5 years ago, no live stream, no big media productions, and certainly no prize money. Now they go to war for the biggest prize fund in the history of Irish motorsport, not just in drifting. And that's going to add a lot of pressure to some of these guys on the grid. Now, most of the time, everybody's trying to win and go hard. But today, they're going to be going a little bit harder. They're going to be out there trying to succeed against their peers, against the guys they've lost to before, but this day it means a little bit more. €20,000, well, it's a life-changing amount of money. But the track this time around, well, that's also a little bit different than last time as well. It's much more technical, much more dangerous. There's an extra wall run. The entry, pretty much the same, is still upwards of 70 miles an hour, one of the most extreme entries in world drifting. Of course, as you can see here, guys, it is almost a blind entry for the drivers as they come over. It's off camber, it's downhill. Get it wrong and drop a wheel, and you can do a lot of damage with the ground being so coarse at the moment. It is doing a lot of damage to suspension and wheels if they do drop off that course. Then they go into the technical section, and of course, that's got 3 walls. And when you're chasing someone with a lot of smoke, it's very difficult to keep your concentration and keep out of those walls. Now, what's the story behind the scenes? Well, of course, it's going to be looking at our favourite, Dwayne McKeever. He hasn't been beaten this year. But that's okay when you're leading the championship. That's okay when you're running for that championship. But today, this is when it really counts. He's got to put it on the line today, and he's got to take down guys who are probably working a little bit harder. We also have some international guests. 2 are about to pass us now. Sultan Al Qasimi, you can see in the fully carbon Kevlar E92 BMW. And Aramis Vasquez from the UK broke his car on Friday practice, went back to the UK, got another car, and came back. That's how much it means to him, and that's how much it means to all these guys. They want to win this event. Grandstand is sold out. We're expecting a record crowd here to see how the action goes down, and we'll be talking you through every little decision, every little moment, myself and Eddie Power in the tower. Now, let's talk about some other interesting things that are happening at this event. Well, you talk about predictability. Lee Scott went into yesterday as an undefeated driver, but went out in the top 8, meaning with this track and how hard it is on cars, anything can happen. The grip levels are incredible. We're recording to 52 degrees temperature on the ground, meaning that those grippy setups and a lot of these machines are also causing some mechanical failures. Could that be the story of the day? Going from fast to slow, the guys are kicking clutches, sending a lot of tension through the drivetrain, and it's causing a lot of drive shafts and diff and clutch issues as they go along. As you can see on the start line is another man, one of the favourites today, Shane O'Sullivan, who just welcomed a baby boy yesterday morning, taking to his first practice lap this morning. Of course, family comes first, but when there's 20 G's on the line in Mondello, and the man's been almost 10 years in the sport, anything can happen here today, and he's definitely gunning for his first ever IDC win. But the real story of the day for all of us here is the weather. I mean, perfect conditions for watching drifting. If you're in Ireland right now and you're only an hour or 2 away from the track, there are still tickets available on the gate. You can come down here and check out the action, check out the atmosphere. And we reckon when we get to that top 8 and top 4 today, the tension in Mondello will just be ridiculous. When guys know one error, one mistake, or one small, just mechanical failure can knock you out of contention for that €20,000. Now, also, it is round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship, so despite the fact that one guy is going to go home here a lot richer, the championship is still very much up for grabs. And Dwayne McKeever edging that victory on both of the first rounds means that he is the man to beat. And of course, the rest of the grid are going to know at this stage, round 3, you've got to take down Dwayne McKeever if you want to stand a chance of getting yourself into the mix when we come to the final round of Jaffest in September. As you can see here on the start line, the chicane system, which you guys will be watching on the live stream later on today, slowing that lead car down with the chase car being given a huge advantage to get on the door into that first corner. A real equalizer this track. It's all about equalizing horsepower and equalizing grip. We want the chase car to have as much of an opportunity to chase down each and every one of those high-powered cars as possible, and that means everyone's got an equal opportunity, especially the second half of the course. It's quite slow, it's quite technical, and we've actually noticed some of the lower-powered cars being much faster in that section as the higher horsepower cars spin up those wheels and can't get the traction down. And if they do try and get the traction down, they have so much horsepower it starts to break up the car. So it's going to be a real game of chess for these guys. We're going to take a quick look through the grid that are lining out for practice, and these guys are very, very pumped up. Remember, each one of these drivers has an equal opportunity at this stage, and they all know that. Regardless of who's the favourite, regardless of who thinks they are going to be the best driver on the grid, today is when it really counts. Chris Burnett and Tomas Falvey, two drivers, especially looking forward to getting out into the mix. Chris, 20 grand on the line, what are you going to do?
Spend it on holidays.
Just holidays?
Yeah, holidays.
Or probably trying to fix the car after all the damage you'd need to do to get 20 grand here today?
Oh no, I'll just drive clean and just do what I got to do.
Well, best of luck, Chris. We'll see you out there. Chris Burnett coming up to the pro rookie this year. Look at this man, 10 years in the game and his first ever pro Sunday.
I'm sorry to interrupt you here, Dave. We have an issue. There's bad marshalling here at the IDC. There's an issue where we have a Pro-Am driver here on the Sunday grid. I'm not quite sure what the issue is, but Tomas Falvey somehow made it onto the... can we disqualify him?
So no one checked his ID? No one checked your ID when you came in here?
No.
He's a bit of a chancer, Tomas, bit of a chancer. Like, just the car looks pro, but you know what I mean? So obviously 10 years drifting, your first ever pro qualifying session. Pressure off and going to have some fun out there today.
Oh, Dave, it's a dream come true, honestly, like, and it's just absolutely no pressure. I'm just sitting back, enjoying myself, and look, just bring it on. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, I'm sure everyone's going to be cheering on for you today, Tomas. 10 years in the making. He's here on the pro grid. Pete Nielsen, we've heard enough from you yesterday in the Traxedo. He's dressed for the occasion, but will he be right there in the mix at the end of the weekend? Coming on, Chris Brady. Last minute entry into the Sunday, of course, 20 G's on the line today. It's a big day. Is there nervous tension across the grid?
There's plenty of boys pushing hard anyway this morning. I've got 3 laps here so far. To be honest, everybody's going hard, like, so it's any man's today, like, and best of luck to everybody. And I know I'll be pushing hard for it anyway.
Thanks, Chris. We wish you the best of luck out there. And of course, the man that everyone wants to beat at the moment, who hasn't been beaten, is Dwayne McKeever. Dwayne, we spoke about it before. You're coming into this the whole season, Ireland and UK undefeated. You're not thinking about that, but that's just how it's worked out. But today there's a little bit of nervous tension around the pits as everyone's saying, well, you know what, winning today might just be a little bit more important.
Yeah, definitely winning that 20 grand today would be nice, but I can't think about it. Everybody keeps mentioning it to me, but I'm trying to block it out and not listen to it. But I'm here just to do one thing, and that's win. And if I win, 20 grand is a big bonus. But at the minute, I'm just trying to thinking about championships and go from there.
Well, best of luck out there. We're looking forward to you throwing down and qualifying. Dean Martin.
That's the story.
We go from a man who's had all the success to a man that's climbing the tree right now. Pro class this year, a big step up, but anyone's game today and everyone feeling a little hungry.
Coming in, nothing to lose. Rough round 1, getting things back together at round 2, but round 3 now, the car's flying, all the problems are sorted, nothing to lose, happy enough in the car, no nervousness, just ready to go, and we never know, an underdog might take today.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people in Louth will be wishing you all the best of luck. And as you can see, guys, very hungry, a lot of confidence. Again, people saying it doesn't really matter where you are in the championship today. It's all about getting to that top step on the podium. Alan O'Loughlin, you can see, zoned in, ready to rock and roll. Brendan Stone up all night trying to get the drift taxi, the Stone Motorsport drift taxi, back and ready for action today. It looks like it's good to go. They've made some good adjustments to that car. Mr. Paul Conlon. Paul Conlon has been in the game quite a long time, but never been to an event where there's €20,000 on the line.
20 grand will make a lot of people step it up a wee bit, you know. Change life.
And of course, you know what? Everyone here, championships don't matter as much. One day just to get to the top step, everyone's going to be zoned in.
Is there a champion?
Paul, legend of the sport right there. Mark McBurney, we're talking about underdogs. One of those guys who pulled it out of the bag at round 1, was incredibly competitive. He'll be looking for it. And Charlie Geary. Charlie, we were only saying this as we were bringing it up towards the start line there. 5 years ago, if you ever said you'd be in Mondello Park with new tarmac in the middle, a live stream going and 20 grand on the line, it didn't really seem like a possibility, but it's a reality today.
Yeah, well, 5 years ago I wouldn't have thought I'd be in the pro class to start with. Today, like, I'm going to go for the 20 grand like everyone else, but I'm very confident in the car this weekend. Absolutely flying it, so fingers crossed, as long as I don't run out of juice and tyres.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Charlie. Enjoy the rest of practice. Two other men that we were talking about when it comes to conversations about having a shot here is Paul McCarthy at Bright Egan. Now, you guys have come in over that hill quite a few times before, but as you mentioned, a couple of guys thought about it 5 years ago. 100,000 people watching, packed out grandstands, live stream media, and now €20,000 on the line. It's come a long way. Has it changed your approach, or are you guys just going in there as business as usual?
No, for me it doesn't change. Still want to try and win. It's just a crazy bonus if you do, but it's so far to get to that stage that it's not even worth thinking about at the moment. Just same as every round. Qualify first, try and win your battles, and then I'd say when it comes top 4, it's going to be hard not to think about it, but look, even if you get to top 4, that's a good round, so look, it's a good result either way. But it'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to watch, even if I'm out of competition early. It'll be crazy to see that final battle.
And of course, you haven't won an IDC round yet, so that's still very much in the mindset. Everyone wants to do it. A man that has won 1 or 2 IDC rounds is Paul McCarthy. 3. He's counting. 3 IDC rounds, and there's only 6 people on this grid. 5 people actually on this grid that have won a round of IDC. So does that give you an edge here that you've been there and done it before, or do you think it's just the same as every other round?
Yeah, I think having a win under your belt is a big thing. I think mentally more than anything else. But as Brian said, my approach is the exact same. I'm not thinking about the 20 grand right now. I want to win every event the same amount. I think it is going to play on my mind a bit more if you kind of start getting into the top 4 or into the final. It's probably going to be in the back of your head. But no, I'm just going to approach it the same as ever and just push 110% and just try and win. That's it.
Well, of course, keeping all the wheels on the car this round will be a big advantage over the last one. We're looking forward to seeing you guys out on track. Best of luck. Another man returning this weekend out of nowhere is Tomas Kiley. Tomas Kiley looking like one of the favourites to take it down. You never want to doubt him here. And we move along. Mr. Mikey Fitz, TJ Burney, and other 2 lads enjoying the sunshine here in Mondello. You'd almost forget there was an owl event going on at the same time, having the chats. Mike and TJ, we were just saying, 20 grand is one thing, but winning a round of the IDC is another. There's only 5 guys on this grid that have won a round of the IDC. So it is a very tough competition to win on any day. But today, with everyone pushing so hard, it's gone up another level.
Yeah, absolutely. There could be six drivers after winning an event at the end of today. I think Mitch Larner's looking very good. And it has gone up another level again. I think it's in the back of people's minds. Everybody's kind of treating it like it's just an event and nobody's taking the 20 grand too realistically, but at the back of people's minds it is a possibility. It's quite open. It's definitely quite open. So yeah, I think everybody's just going to push to like that extra little bit and take the risks that they might normally take, of another day, that they're going to take those risks today.
Well, thanks, Mike. And TJ, it's sort of the daydream moment in the van coming up the road, isn't it? That imagine I was standing there on the top of that podium with 20 grand check in my hand. But for you, you're returning to this round to the pro class. You're here for a bit of fun, but again, you're still a competitive guy.
There's zero pressure on me this weekend, Dave. I'm just here for the great track layout and the great crowd and the weather, most thing. And then 20 grand to top it off. That would be a dream come true, in fairness. So, we'll have the crack, and sure, we'll push hard as we can,
Well, we're wishing you guys the best of luck. Everybody in fantastic form. Aramis Vaskelis, all the way from the UK. This car was in the UK?
This night my friends bring a car here and broken E30 engine, and he's coming this night morning, 5 o'clock.
So you must be very hungry to come here and win an event if you're bringing 2 cars in 3 days from a different country.
It's a little bit difficult, but I coming a long way for here and go hard or go home and nothing.
Well, of course, another thing to remember is an international driver has never won an event here for 15 years. So if you're going to do it any day with 20,000 on the line, this might be the day to do it.
I can do, I think.
Well, best of luck, Aramis. We'll see you out there. Crazy driver to watch on track. You can barely see the track after he's been around. And we see another couple of guys chilling out in their cars here. You can see Dennis Murphy. Dennis, you know what? Everyone's having fun in the sun down here, but the competition's going to start pretty soon and everyone's going to start getting that game face on.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, and we're pushing hard for that 20 grand. Hopefully we'll get it.
And of course, you had some issues with the car in the last 2 rounds. How's things working out so far?
Yeah, the car is flying now. We actually got it on point, so hopefully it'll stay going that way. So things are looking good.
I say it's going to be a hard day on cars and hard day on drivers and a hard day in the cars with the heat that's here. But we're wishing you all an easy event. And you can see from the drivers, they're trying to play it cool. They're trying to play it down, but it is in the back of the mind. They've been all in those vans and cars on the way up here, bringing their car to the event, going, imagine it was me. Imagine it was me on the top step of that podium, and anybody could do it. David Hobbs, he comes in here as the underdog. So does Liam Devlin. But at the same time, underdogs on days like today, drifting often produces those moments where when it matters, it matters. And today, it definitely matters, because one person will carry that check to the top of the podium in just a couple of hours' time, €20,000. And one man that has done a lot of work to get here is, of course, the Thunder from down under, Mitch Larner. Mitch, of course, just a casual, blow your engine up at round 2, fly back to Australia, build an engine in Australia, have to bring a lot of that engine back with you and carry on luggage onto a plane, build the engine in Ireland within a couple of days, get it mapped, get it ready, break a prop in practice, and then get back out for qualifying. It's just an average kind of couple of weeks for you.
Yeah, no, it's becoming the usual routine for us, I think. We've put a lot of effort in, and I'm really living by the motto of, you never give up. Like,
it's been crazy. Like the last year and a half, I've had nothing but problems. I've never experienced that in my career, but you know, I've got a wonderful team behind me and amazing sponsors, and you know, especially the fans. Obviously, the fans coming on board as well, trying to help me every bit they can. And yeah, it's been a crazy week, but we're here. We put it in the wall on Friday practice as well. Yeah, it's just been full on. But like I said earlier on Friday, that I don't think you can go anywhere else in the world and earn 20 grand easy. So I'm not going to give up, and you know, I'll smash off the wall if I have to, or drive through people if I have to. If anyone gets in the way, then you know, nothing's going to stop us this weekend.
And I mean, you're very confident, but let me just put the stats down for you. 5 people on the grid right now have ever won a round of the IDC. In 15 years, an international has never won a round of the IDC, and there has never been €20,000 on the line, not just in drifting, in any motorsport in Ireland in history, all in one couple of hours stretch, and we have you from Australia here right in the mix. Does that play on your mind a little bit, or is it out there just kill and attack?
Well, like I say, I've been saying it to everybody that you know, it's been a big challenge for us to try and even just take the streak, and I think you know, earning that 20 grand is not really on my mind. It's more just going to be a bonus by the end. Like, you know, I'm here for one thing and one thing only, and like I said, if anyone gets in our way, I'm going to do my best I can, and if it means taking the side of the car off or blowing another engine up, I'm just going to keep doing it until we take that streak. And like I say, I think we've put in all the hard yards more than anybody else, and yeah, I'm just not going to stop working for it, and eventually, hopefully, we'll get it. And you know, I'm just going to keep going to the drawing board until we work out a way to do it.
Well, Mitch, we're wishing you the best of luck, and I'm sure your newfound fan base in Ireland will be too. It is the prize fight here at Mondello Park. You can see how much it means to everybody. You can see what's on the line. I'm genuinely excited. I go to a lot of events. We see a lot of stuff all over the world, but this is something different, especially for a small country like Ireland. 15 years of a streak on the line. You know, only 5 guys have ever won an IDC round. That's going to be playing on people's minds, and the €20,000. It is going to be the craziest day of Irish drifting. The weather is spectacular. The grip levels are up. The grandstand is sold out. We are ready for another show-stopping Irish Drift Championship round, brought to you by Link Engine Management. Right now, it's time for me to head back up to the tower, join my good partner, Eddie Power, and we're going to talk you through all of the action today. Don't go anywhere. It's about to go down here at the prize fight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mondello Park, and welcome to, of course, it's not just any round, Eddie, it is the prize fight. Winner takes all. 20. Has there been such a high prize in Irish drifting, world drifting, or indeed in any motorsport competition in Ireland to date? That is the level we're at right now in Irish drifting, and it is just the perfect occasion. Sun shining, grip levels perfect, everybody's chilling out, having fun. It's going to be a spectacular day.
Yeah, it's going to be magical. Look, a little bit cooler as well today out there. The drivers, you've just interviewed them, Dave, playing it down a little bit. That you know, the €20,000 doesn't mean as much, but it's life-changing money for all these guys, and you can see it in the practice this morning. A little bit of nerves on the line, and I think it's going to make for some very interesting stories here today.
Massively, and of course, you know, the stories that come from this weekend, well, they'll live on for years and years, because whoever wins this will definitely have that check to take home. But of course, not only the money, but they'll have the title of holding their nerve and winning the biggest prize in the history of Irish motorsport in one day of competition. You make a mistake here today, you're going home. That's the end of that. It runs as regular. There's no difference for the prize fight. It's a regular championship round, just with the prize a little bit higher. We have international drivers on the grid, also aiming to take down 15 years of undefeated Irish history. And I'm looking forward to every single run today. I hope you guys in attendance are looking forward to it. But first, we are going to head into our pro qualifying session. Now, this is where it gets interesting from the off. 33 drivers are going to enter this qualifying later on. And as I said, it's sudden death. The top 8 in qualifying will automatically go through to the top 16. The guys finishing from 9th to 24th will battle once to try and take up those remaining 8 spaces in the top 16 main event. Now, obviously, we've got a new track layout this weekend, and we had to step the game up. We had to do something different at round 1. Half it is the same, but half it is very, very different. To talk us through that layout and explain exactly what these guys are going to have to do to score that perfect 100, we're going to hand you over to one of our judges. Our judges this weekend are what you guys are looking for that perfect 100 run.
Thanks, Dave. So starting off from the start line, we want the drivers to accelerate up as hard as they possibly can. Initiation is open for this, but we really want the drivers to see either a clutch kick or a feint entry because they will score higher. We want the drivers to first slide the rear of the car through clipping point 1, then tighten their line in and get the front of the car through clipping point 2. Back out to one of the most important clipping points on the track, which is clipping point 3. Nice smooth transition back onto a nice wide outside line between all the way around Link ECU corner, hitting clipping point 4 and 5 along the way. A nice smooth transition back to the other side of the track onto clipping point 6 here in front of us in the judging tower. Then a nice long drag down onto our first wall onto clipping point 7, maintaining a nice wide outside line onto 8 and 9. Back onto another wall in front of us here in clipping point 10. Then a nice smooth transition getting the front of the car into clipping point 11. Back out to the outside of Link ECU corner into clipping point 12. And then nosing the front of the car onto clipping point 13 and over the finish line.
Well, there you have it from Kevin O'Connell explaining exactly what these guys have got to do in qualifying. It is one of the most tense, probably, qualifying sessions we'll ever witness in the championship. And what we're going to do is show you a quick show of what that perfect run looks like. The beauty of technology nowadays, Eddie, is that we don't have to try and describe it. We can just show you in a virtual world what that perfect 100 looks like. Check this out. There you have it, Eddie. Across the finish line they go, and that is the perfect lap. Funny enough, that lap put in by one of our pro drivers, Alan Hines, in the virtual world, and he will be back out to try and do it in the real world, which is a little bit more difficult. Well, in my opinion, it's actually less difficult because I don't know how to play those games whatsoever.
It's completely
impossible. But we are going to see that in reality for the next couple of hours today. And of course, if you're new to drifting, if you're joining us online for the first time, if you're here in attendance for the first time, well, drifting isn't like every other motorsport. It's not a race, it's not a start and finish. And of course, it is judged by 3 judges. So exactly to tell you the criteria these guys are going to have to go through, let's have a look through them now. Each driver will complete 2 non-consecutive scored runs. The highest score after both runs will count as a driver's final score. Each run is scored out of a maximum of 100 by our 3 judges. The average score from all 3 judges will count as a driver's run. Understeer, incorrect line, dropping 1 to 3 wheels off the course, or significant contact with those outer walls. Drivers will be rewarded for extreme entry, increased speed, fluidity, snappy transitions, correct judging line, precision and proximity to the outer, dropping 4 wheels off the track, extreme understeer, or driving a section of the course for a long period of time. Well, that's how it works, and then it moves on to qualifying with championship order, meaning that we start with the guys that have come through from the Pro-Am class yesterday, the guys the best in the business, and we start with the first of those who's on the line right now, which is, of course, Tomas Falvi. Tomas Falvi on the line. And the thing about Tomas Falvi we were just mentioning was he has been competing for 10 years, and he is how excited he is right now.
Yeah, and look, Dave, what a weekend to do it. But Tomas Falvi drove yesterday non-stop from start to finish, like a completely different driver. He was so impressive throughout the day, really looked to be enjoying his driving and really hooking up well with that Drift Games S15. This car, we know it's capable. This is a pro spec car, and I think Tomas, I mean, you saw how happy he was just to be happy just to be involved in the pro competition. I think he could be one to watch throughout the day today because, as you say, no pressure on the line for these drivers.
No,
it's just bonus time for them.
And saying he has absolutely no pressure, which is going to be different than everyone else on the grid. He's not going in there expecting to win. He's going in there to have some fun. And that might suit him, especially when he's got those laps under his belt from yesterday, Eddie, after doing such a great performance. He's coming in there like he's on a Skeletrix track. He's done this a lot of times. Nice initiation for Tomas. As he powers through the first 2 clipping zones, he gets nicely out to the 3rd clipping zone also. Little drag and a handbrake with deceleration zone and trying to stay as wide as possible. Not as wide there as the judges would have liked it, but still on that correct line so far.
Yeah, I think for Tomas here, it's just important to put in a steady first lap, try and get yourself into the game. Again, just not getting deep enough into those outer zones as he comes by the teardrop section of the circuit, but gets that car now back on power and nicely through the penultimate inner clipping zone and safely across the line, and that will be a scored run and a score on the board for Tomas Falvey, kicking off qualifying nicely here at prize fight for round 3 at Mondello Park.
A good example, Eddie, of a very solid run out there. And of course, guys don't want to score zeros on their first run. They want to put in a solid score. So we're going to see guys, you know, put a steady run together. 62.7 for Tomas Falvey on his first run. They put in that mid-pack score, and then they know what they've got to beat for the second, or they'll know how the rest of the grid is stacking up. They'll know how much they've got to risk. The second half always gets a little bit more exciting. Next up on the line, we've got Graham Holden. Graham, another driver who just 6 months ago was in the Irish Amateur Drift Championship, wasn't even in this class, came through in the top of that championship, and now steps into his first ever pro event. Another big moment for a rising star.
Yeah, you know, look, it's amazing the progress that these drivers can make, and a big entry here from Graham Holden. Wowed us all day yesterday, and he's really got to grips with this Mondello layout. Just coming a little bit shallow though, Dave, as he approaches clip 4 and not getting wide enough into Link ECU corner. But now, how can he do as he comes into the teardrop again, just coming ever so slightly away from that very outer line, but again, could we just be looking to get a solid run laid down and settle those nerves a little bit. Obviously, it's bonus time for these drivers, but in the back of the mind, there will be that thought of, you know, 20 grand on the line and a chance to compete in the top 16 later on this afternoon.
Yeah, mechanical issues yesterday. He had borrowed parts from none other than Dwayne McKeever to get back out onto the grid. Whether Dwayne will regret that later in the day, we'll see. But a great run for his first ever pro debut for Graham Holden. And let's see what he scores from the judges on his first run. And you know what? He's looking very, very fresh and sort of capable in that position. 57 on the board for Graham Holden, puts him in the second so far. Scores will start climbing dramatically as we head up the order. And this is a man who, we don't even know what engine's in this car. From where I'm looking here, it looks like some sort of BMW engine with a turbo. I have no idea. But he has borrowed this car, got his friend to drive from the UK. It landed at 5 o'clock in the morning this morning.
Yeah, and what I can tell you, Dave, 1,000 brake horsepower underneath the bonnet of this car. And if you watch the forward bite that this car has coming through the course, it is incredibly quick.
Look at this entry from Aramis Vasquez as he fires into that first corner. Remember, he has had very little practice in this car. Had big angle also, Eddie, as he gets right to the extremes of the course. He said he wasn't coming here to play around and make up the numbers. He wants to win, and he wants to take down that streak. And of course, a big transition back towards the wall. Nicely played. Remember, he's only driven this car this morning in practice for a couple of laps, but just a little shy on that second wall zone.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you look at it, maybe a little bit shallow into that teardrop section, Dave, but the rest of this lap has been quite good, and probably the best run he's managed to put down. Struggling a little bit, obviously, with practice this morning, 2 cars out on track at the same time, so having to follow other drivers, and that can make it difficult for someone to try and get used to a brand new setup and a brand new car. But Arma's doing a very good job there, and certainly I'd imagine that one will be a very reputable score.
Not a bad run. A couple of zones missed, Eddie. As you start to figure it out, if you're new to the sport, you'll figure out those outer boxes on the course or what those guys are trying to put the rear wheels through. So a 66.7 for Aramis Vasquez on his first run. Something to build on, but a score on the board in a car he's not used to is not bad going at all. Speaking of brand new builds, well, here's Sultan Al Qasimi from the United Arab Emirates. Flying this car over for this event. It is a fully carbon Kevlar bodied HGK kitted E92 with an LS7 V8. That's a lot of numbers, and I've impressed I remember them all.
I'm impressed.
Representing Lunatics by Nature and Monster Energy. He is the current Emirates Drift champion.
Yeah, getting a little bit wide though on the entry there is Sultan, but Sultan has looked very comfortable on the track this weekend, and his driving has really started to improve, and he's putting it up to some of the Irish guys out there at the moment on the grid. Maybe a little bit shallow though on some of his clips early on in this run. Can he get onto that outer line though?
Yeah, missing a couple of zones. Remember, another driver getting used to a brand new car, Eddie, this weekend. Not easy to come out to such a technical and difficult circuit when you've only unwrapped the car a couple of days before. And as you can see, Sultan putting a score on the board there, but not, you know, missing a couple of zones. Probably another mid-pack score coming in, but again, something to build on for the second half of qualifying.
Yeah, you know, towards the end of practice, that car ending up in the gravel trap. I'm wondering, was part of that, you know, maybe a little bit of that in the back of the mind for Sultan as he came out on track, but he will complete a score or complete a run and put in a score on the board. We await that from the judges, and he'll be back for his second run. 62.7 though, Dave. Not a bad start though for Sultan Al Qasimi.
No, not at all. And a man that generally doesn't find himself in this position, but he hasn't competed this year so far due to commitments and exams. You know, these kids have real problems out there doing leaving certs and everything. But Tomas Kiley returns to the grid in his 850 horsepower S14 and he is a contender, always has been. One of the few drivers on the grid that have won rounds of the Irish Drift Championship, and he is coming in very fast into that first corner.
Yeah, very quick and a really nice line. You can see those.
Big understeer though.
Yeah, just catching that bit of understeer as he comes through, and that unsettling the car a little bit, unable to get out onto that wide line from there through Link ECU corner. What can he do in the second half of the circuit now as he fires it down and tries to scrub that speed into that teardrop section? That was nice from Tomas Kiley. Just the amount of smoke that this car creates, Dave, is just phenomenal. Very difficult for some of the other drivers to chase him. And Tomas just not looking as comfortable as he has done earlier on in practice.
No, and you've got to remember he's coming back. You know, there might be a little bit of rust there. He's come back. He hasn't driven since the final round of the Irish Drift Championship last year. So, of course, you know, a 6-7 month, even more, probably 8 months since he's been behind the wheel of that car. So he's going to have a little bit of time to get used to it. And he was looking very strong in practice, but a couple of zones missed there. It means a 53.7 for Tomas Kiley. 53.7 puts him in the 5th position so far. Moving on to another returning driver who, due to other commitments, was not competing at the start of this year. But, of course, when you put 20,000 euro on the line, Eddie, and a good track layout like this, as TJ said, you couldn't be missing the sunshine in Mondello. And he's back. He is an ex-Pro-Am champion, TJ Burney, as he takes to the track. This is a 450 horsepower SR20.
And a professional snuggler, apparently, is TJ. So if you're looking for someone to cuddle, TJ's your guy, but
highly qualified.
Highly qualified.
And as he takes to the course, you can see TJ absolutely shredding the tires on the back of this car as he comes through.
Yeah, TJ doing a really nice job here. Very focused on getting that line right. Maybe not the same impact as some of the other drivers out on circuit, but TJ always very committed to his line, and we've seen in the past a very difficult man to beat in battles. TJ is...
The other thing about it is, Eddie, is that he's very consistent, and consistency goes a long way in this championship. He's very akin to what I was Pete Nielsen in the way he drives it. Looking for exactly what the judges want in qualifying, saying, I've got to get a score on the board, hit all those clipping zones, put my name up there, rather than going for the spectacular and losing scores. He's rather trying to collect them. It's a nice way of thinking about it, and TJ will await his score from the judges. And let's see what he scores. It's a 64.3, second position for TJ Burney. So nobody lighting up the scoreboard just yet, Eddie. Nobody getting it high up into the high 70s, 80s, or 90s. And we expect to see that as the qualifying session goes on. So room for improvement for a lot of these guys. Next up, we have got the forever underdog, David Hobbs, the electrical contractor from Wexford, running his 1UZ V8 Corolla, 220, 30 horsepower under the bonnet of this car. And you know, moving from the Beams engine last year to the V8 this year, and still going as hard as ever.
Yeah, and look at his pace that he carries through that first corner. Dave fires it in there. Big angle now for David Hobbs. Can he keep this momentum going as he takes a very nice wide line through that Link engine management corner? Judges perking up and watching this one with intent as David Hobbs now scrubs a little bit of speed and tries to dial on a bit of angle, bringing that car nicely out to the outer sections. Just getting up close and personal with the walls and into the final section of the track now.
Oh, it dropped off the track.
A couple of wheels.
Yeah, just dropped off the track, didn't slow the car down enough, and you know, tried to just go right to the edge of the circuit, but there's an extra bit of concrete there, maybe 2 foot, and he dropped into it then, and once you drop into that gravel, it lifts the front of the car in the air. You have very little control. That's going to hurt his score, Eddie. It was before the finish line.
Yeah, massively, but it was looking like a very good run up until that point from David Hobbs. As we said, very much the underpowered hero. 41.7 though from the judges, and you can see very much penalised for that error towards the end.
Yeah, and next up on the line is a man who is not in his preferred choice of the Stone Motorsport S15, but reverting back to the Stone Motorsport Taxi, is Brendan Stone, ex-champion, one of the few drivers that has won rounds of the Irish Championship, and he now takes to the circuit saying, a pretty big car and a heavy car to get around here, but when you look at the experience and the talent that he has in all types of motorsport, he's a time attack champion, he's a rally champion, he's a drift champion here in Ireland, he can get it done.
Yeah, and that experience counts, you know, tenfold later on in the afternoon if Brendan can get himself into, you know, the latter stages of competition. But doing a very nice job to hook up the circuit and nailing that line that the judges have been asking for. And this is shaping up to be a very good run here from Brendan Stone if he can keep it in it nicely onto the wall. Pinpoint accuracy, Dave, as you can see, as he a little bit of a love tap from Brendan Stone.
I think this could be the best run so far.
Yeah, I think this one's going to go top because that is just perfect.
Most passenger rights. It's got 4 seats and harnesses in the car. It's a big, heavy car, and it's supposed to be sort of a showpiece car. But I think he might just have done enough there to get a very good score on the board. 73 puts Brendan Stone top of qualifying at the moment, and lack of speed maybe on some sections, but the line was very good. So something to work on maybe on the impact element of it. Next up, we move on to our next driver, Alan McNeil. And we're not going to use any puns on his name this time, Eddie.
None.
Nope.
None whatsoever.
No happy? Absolutely not.
So the service engineer from Ireland, 30 years of age. He's representing McIlvany Motors, Aiden Slowey Fabrication, Bradley Mixer Hire, GES, Selly Services, and Link Engine Management. SO20 under the bonnet of this Corolla, 350 brake horsepower, solid rear axle, and this car is just about ready to take to the circuit, Dave.
Yeah, 350 horsepower, only about 1,000 kgs this car weighs, so it can move when it's out there. And Alan McNeil coming in very hot here. Will he hold it? Yes, just about. So always on 4, and it always looks like he's going to lose control. But this is a good job so far from Alan McNeil as he takes it to the walls. Has a great shot there from our high vantage point on the live view camera to see them just tag that wall as they come through.
Finish out his first qualifying run. Just got offline a little bit as he hit that first inner clip or front end clip, and just unsettled his line a little bit towards the end there, Dave. And I think the judges will be looking out for little things like that, little waivers, and I think that might end up seeing him score down a little bit. But it had been quite a good run from Alan McNeil up until that point. So where will he lie after his first run when the judges' scores drop in?
Yep, Alan McNeil scores a 53.7, putting him into 7th position right now.
So Alan McNeil will head back to the start line, just waiting for his second run. We move it along though to Paul Conlon. Paul Conlon, a veteran of Irish drifting, and coming here this weekend to try and take down that 20,000 euro and bring it home. On 2JZ under the bonnet, 650 brake horsepower. Link Engine Management sponsored, Extreme Clutch Hell Performance, Norscaf.
Yep, throws into that first corner. Nice big angle from Paul Conlon as he goes very wide onto 3 on big angle. Looking good so far. Transitions now into Link Engine Management corner. Starts to put the foot down at this big angle, big impact. But can he keep the line together, Paul, as he does? But the rear end of that car very close to the wall on both occasions, and this is looking very strong for Paul Conlon. Takes a very fast transition towards the end of the course, and then it's back up to gear in full throttle as they come across the line. Nice run from Paul Conlon there.
Yeah, very difficult to get your transition right for that outer clip at clip 10, and then switching back very quickly for that inner clip at clip 11. So where will Paul Conlon...
I liked it. I liked the run. A lot of impact, a lot of smoke, a lot of speed.
Paul Conlon coming back here this weekend saying that people have forgotten about Paul Conlon a little bit, and he wants to show them why he's here, why he's in this pro class, and that he is still a force to be reckoned with.
And what a day to do it. 75.3 puts Paul Conlon top of qualifying so far with a first place. Will he stay there? Well, we expect the scores to... Next up on the line is Charlie Geary. Charlie, in another one of the underdogs in the class. You can see him all smiles to the camera there as he is driving an M3 BMW Estate, and always a big fan favorite, Eddie. People love seeing this thing coming over the hill. Not the massive amounts of impact, smoke and grip that you'll see from some of the other cars, but boy does he drive it hard.
Yeah, look, it's a flick entry through that first corner, but scrubs too much speed, Dave, unable to get out to that third outer clipping zone, and that's really hurt his line. And you can see here, has to shallow up as he comes through Link Engine Management. But gets back on.
Yeah,
nice.
A lot of straight lining here on this one, Eddie. He's had a couple of straights almost so far where the car's on very little angle. So it's going to hurt his score. He's getting around there, but judges will be deducting and marking down for a lack of angle and a lack of proximity to some of the zones.
Yeah, Charlie just doesn't tends to straight line the course just that little bit more, not pulling. He focuses his big angle on entry, and after that point then trying to be as quick as he can through the circuit.
So let's see what Charlie Geary scores as he heads to his first score of the day. 49 on the board for Charlie Geary, enough for 10th position at the moment. So guys, a little nervous out there, Eddie, not putting in those runs we saw in practice. It must be maybe the weight of the occasion, maybe it's the sitting in the heat and qualifying, whatever it may be. Guys are going to have to start taking a grip of this one, and you're going to go home very, very quickly in qualifying if you don't start putting those big scores in. Next up, Stuart Gilmore in this crazy pickup truck, PS13. With a 180SX front. I mean, yeah, it's one of those cars, but Stuart is one of those drivers. Just as crazy as his car as he goes for a faint entry into the first corner. This thing has plenty of power, Eddie. 630 horsepower, RB26.
Yeah, it's an absolute monster of a build, and the engineering involved in this car is just incredible. But Stuart Gilmore getting it wrong, dropping wheels, and just unable to keep that car going then, Dave, and bounce out of his first run. So he's going to have it all to do on the second run. Will sit on a 0.
You know what? We were already saying the gravel here, it's so deep when you drop in, it almost lifts the front of the car. You lose the front steering. It's almost a part of the track that doesn't seem that obviously sort of dangerous or detrimental, but when you drop in there, you know all about it. And Stuart Gilmore just experienced that firsthand as he drops in, front wheels lift off the ground, no control, and spins out. 0 on the board, pressure on. Next on, Alan O'Loughlin on the line. Warehouse operator from Galway, just 24 years of age, 1.5 JZ under the bonnet, 600 horsepower, fully built by Dean M Sport, Winters Quick Change, G-Force dog box. This thing has all the gear, and Alan has plenty of the ideas. He has looked incredibly impressive in his pro rookie year this year. Let's hope he can get a good run under his belt here.
Yeah, I mean, look, he has been just as impressive as the graphic scheme on this car, representing O'Loughlin Insulation, PJF Motorsport, Bradley Motors, Galway, and GX2 Automotive. This car and this driver combination is one of my favourites on the grid, as he takes to the circuit through the chicane for his first qualifying run here at round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship, live from Mondello Park.
Yeah, throws it in there.
Big angle there, and nice line through that first corner from Alan O'Loughlin. Can he keep this going nicely? He certainly can. Nice and wide out to that third outer zone, but just deviates from that wide line, Dave. And a lot of drivers just struggling to keep it on that very outer section of the circuit as they come by Lake Edge. And a spin from Alan O'Loughlin.
And
very uncharacteristic from Alan O'Loughlin.
Very strange spin from Alan O'Loughlin there.
So Alan O'Loughlin, just possibly a rush of blood to the head. I'm not sure what went wrong from quite an unusual spot on the circuit, but a tricky transition as you're trying to scrub a lot of speed before entering, putting that car onto the wall and entering into that slow section as they come around by the
you
teardrop.
can see he just dialed on a little too much angle in the transition, going for a big impact on a lock-to-lock, and of course Alan O'Loughlin ran out of lock there essentially by spinning out. Next up on the line, Dean Martin. We heard him in the interview earlier, said he could be an underdog that takes it today, and he wants to be that underdog. From Ardee in County Louth, M3, 320 horsepower, brand new build for this year. He's a tyre fitter at East Coast Alloys for the last 8 years, so he knows all about taking tyres on and off. But today he's going to try to keep them on the car, but use them in the best way they can as he transitions into that first corner. Not too much of a weight entry or weight transfer entry, but missing clipping zone 2 as well. Just
very wide there, Dave, and you can just see if you're in attendance here, a big kick of dust up from Dean Martin. Not where he wanted that car to be placed, but you know what, gets back on that line, and if he can finish this run out, get a score on the board, we'll see where he ends up, but he's going to know going back to the start line where he needs to improve. Certainly far too wide on that entry, but this is shaping up to be not a bad run towards the second half.
No, second half of the run looking pretty good, Eddie, and it has actually been pretty impressive. So from where I'm sitting, you know what, he's clawed back a lot of those points he lost on those first 3 clipping zones, but again, it's going to find him with a mid-pack score, I would imagine. And we haven't seen someone come out here and absolutely nail this circuit in one go and put a big 75 or 78 or so plus run in, which would sort of guarantee them that top 24 place.
Yeah, look, I think we're still waiting on someone to start breaking into the 80s to raise that standard and give the guys a real target to chase.
Absolutely.
But a man on the line that could certainly do just that is Dennis Murphy. We will come to him in just a moment just to get Dean Martin's score, a 59.3, so not bad, Dave. And if he can tidy up that entry, you can certainly see him as a driver.
I'm not too sure if a 59.3 is going, or 53.9, any of those scores are going to be enough to get you into battle action. I think those guys are going to go back knowing it's the same as a 0. They're going to start from scratch in the second half, and it's going to be all on the line. It's going to be very exciting. As Dennis Murphy takes to the line, this incredible S4 2.2 180SX, 540 horsepower HKS stroke engine, built by Dean M Sport, Samsonus sequential, wise flap front and rear. Crazy car, lots of pops and bangs, but a big issue again for Dennis Murphy. And I was just about to say, he had such a mechanical issue with this car in round 1 and round 2. I cannot believe we are in the same situation in round 3. They were tirelessly working on that car and has said they had fixed all the boost issues yesterday, but look at this, gremlins rearing their head again.
Yeah, so unfortunate for Dennis Murphy. It's almost as if, mechanical issues seem to follow him around everywhere he goes, and you know what, if that car, and if they can get it running properly, he's certainly a contender, somebody who could, if you're going to talk about an underdog taking it, or someone mid-pack, Dennis Murphy is a man that could be up there. But they got to get that car running right first.
Exactly, and I mean the pressure could be these guys are dealing with at the moment. These are ordinary guys, these aren't professional race drivers, so that kind of tension and money and heat and championship points on the line can get to a lot of guys out there. And the other thing is, when a mechanical issue rears its head, it starts to distract you, because Dennis is going to go back in fixing that car, but he's not having a chance to put that first run in and feel a little comfortable with the track. So pressure on. Next up, Chris Brady, drift fabricator and second-hand car sales from Monaghan is his game. And SR20 with 450 horsepower is his car, and he has been a man who has almost won a round of the Irish Drift Championship last year when he came to Dundee. Almost took down Jack Shanahan in the final, but did not practice Friday, did not practice yesterday. This morning is the only practice he's had. This is going to be an uphill battle for Chris Brady here to try and get that SR Corolla around on those outer zones.
Yeah, look, very limited practice, as you say, Dave, for Chris Brady. Fortunately, just not been able to attend the last couple of days due to other commitments. And Chris is here, though, this weekend to try and put on a show. He wants people to remember why Chris Brady is one of the best in the game, and certainly we have seen flashes of brilliance from him in the past. Can he replicate that this weekend? A little bit of a sketchy entry, but it's a very nice line here from Chris Brady, who seems very settled on the circuit here this morning. Just can't get that car to transition properly into that teardrop section of the circuit.
Yeah, a couple of moments there anyway. Lost it absolutely perfect, and a couple of moments of brilliance. So showing the potential of a great run, but every now and again, a lot of slowing there as well as he transitions. Certain areas of the track, probably a little bit too much handbrake, a little bit too much slowing. Judges watch for that. Of course, if you're watching on the live stream, it's very one thing that's very difficult to tell on the live stream is speed. You can't, especially the first corner here, you look at it directly at the car as it comes through. Where we look at it side on from the tower here, and the judges look from it, speed is very evident all the time. So that's something that will affect the driver's score, which may not be obvious if you're watching at home, but it's very obvious here in attendance that a car is slowed dramatically. 55 on the board for Chris Brady, puts him into 9th position. 9th position so far for Chris Brady. We move on to our next driver, Chris Burnett. Hashtag CB58.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Oh wait, no you didn't, because he has it absolutely everywhere.
So he is a family man. He works hard as a civil engineer in County Armagh. 600 horsepower RB25, Samsonov sequential winter stiff link engine management, of course. Keeping it all in sync, and here we go. Chris Brady put in a nice first run through the first couple of clipping zones there, Eddie, as he now transitions. That transition is spot on. He's looking good here.
Yeah, the judges say just how important it is to get the first 3 clipping zones right. They keep you on that wide line, and you just see how wide Chris Burnett was able to get as he came around by Link ECU. Oh, but that's the back out of it a little bit, Dave. A little correction as he came towards that second wall zone, but Chris, more than capable behind the wheel, and just makes that little correction and gets back onto his line and back on the power and finishes this one in style. Chris Burnett putting in a really strong first run.
You can see it means a lot to him. He thumps the roof of the car. Incredible stuff. Chris Burnett knows that was a good run. I think we could be looking at one of our best runs of the day so far there. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't jump up. Yeah, 83 on the board for Chris Burnett. Puts him into 1st position so far. Nice from Chris Burnett. He looks hungry for it, Eddie.
Yeah, it really does, and that one's setting the standard that much higher now. And as we said, Dave, we were looking for a target for these guys to hit, and Chris Burnett has certainly done that. Now, can Liam Devlin outdo him? Can he beat that 83? Can he go top of qualifying on his first run?
Well, Devlin, of course, will run the 3.2 Evo M3 with his 320 horsepower. It doesn't sound like a lot, but he is able to keep the car at high revs throughout the whole course, including the slower technical sections. Has been playing into the hand of some of these guys with the lower horsepower cars, that second part of the track, if they can get the first part right. And it's quite a momentum corner, but then just almost shy of 3, but gets it. And look at this big angle. Will he hold it together, though? Will he drop a wheel? Oh, he lifts a wheel off the ground.
Yeah, it was always looking like he was going to drop that wheel, but certainly committing 100% to that outer line. And Liam Devlin in that wide body kit, Westlake 245 E36 monster. And Devlin really just looking comfortable out there, Dave. He's representing Devlin Trailers, Westlake Tyres, JMC Boiler Services, Wattfab Lock Kits, and DM Alignments here this weekend.
It's a good run, very good run.
You know what? Looks very comfortable in
and
that
I'll tell you,
Eddie,
anyone could take this today. The way things are going, anybody could take this today. Do not count any driver out.
This is not your standard pro event. You know,
no, it is not. You're dealing with more pressures here, Eddie, than you've ever dealt with before, because you've obviously got that in your head. And speaking of dealt with, of course, on the line is our next driver, Brian Egan, but we just get the score dropping in for Liam Devlin first. His 53.3 for Liam Devlin. In 13th position he goes. And as I mentioned, Brian Egan find himself quite a ways down the championship this year with some issues with the car and a spin out in Dundee. Looking to turn his championship right back around again. 500 horsepower, 2 JZ under the bonnet.
Yeah, I think, you know, first place at the end of today would certainly turn his championship around and certainly turn his life around. 20 G's up for grabs here in this car. What an aggressive and cool looking car this is. Brian Egan always very meticulous when it comes to styling his cars, and this R32 JZ is ready for war as he fires it through the first corner nice and wide. And look at this, Dave, hugging that outer line. Brian Egan came to play here this weekend in Mondello Park.
Perfect.
laying down that rubber on this Mondello circuit. Now, what can he do into this brand new section of the circuit? Firing it onto the wall. And Brian Egan looking to go top here. Can he outdo the 83 of Chris Burnett and take it to top spot in qualifying? Nice through the final sections. And you know what? The dealt with driver, Dave, doing a really, really good job on his first run in qualifying.
Yeah, great run. I mean, a couple of stall-ups here and there, but overall the fluidity, speed and precision was there. I think that's going to be another big score. Brian Egan, usually who struggles in Mondello with first scores in qualifying, maybe putting a pretty solid one on the board. 77 for Brian Egan, second position so far.
Yeah, and you know what? I think Brian Egan will be going back to the pits and feeling like he has an opportunity to take his first pro event win here and a chance at that €20,000. Now we move it along to a man who was joining me yesterday in the commentary tower. We've swapped him out for the driver's seat. He is ready to take to the circuit for the first half of qualifying. Pete Nielsen, representing Ireland and Denmark, the former TV3 apprentice candidate, rocking the SR20 DET 400 brake horsepower under the bonnet of his new vehicle, which he's not ready to show this weekend. A little bit less power, 337 underneath the bonnet of this particular SR20. And Pete's coming here to try and put on a show for the fans, but you know what? He wants to take down some of the big names while he's doing it. Very much focused on getting that qualifying line right, as always. And Pete Nielsen knows he has the disadvantage of not being as powerful as some of the other drivers, but doing a very good job to negotiate the circuit here at the moment. Nailing that wide line as he comes through the teardrop and looks to take it to the wall. Certainly getting a nice and personal with those immovable concrete barriers, and nicely over the line in the drift games. 180SX representing Moose Design, Caber Performance, Jap Speed, DTA ECU, Mintex Brakes, Long-Term Racewear, Stone Motorsport, Corbo Seats and Mobile One. We await the score to drop in for Pete Nielsen. I'm not sure that one's going to go top of qualifying, but certainly a very steady run from Pete, and a couple of errors though I think early on in the run, but from there on in just got on that line, and 67.3 you see for him, jumping into 5th position.
Power a little bit sick, and when you haven't got much horsepower to begin with, that always is an issue. So we move on to our next driver who has no issue with horsepower. It's Joe Doyle, 600 horsepower, RB25, Quinn's M Sports, R33 Skyline, one of my favorite R33 Skylines in the world right now. An incredible job. As I said, it's so good of an R33 looking Skyline, it almost looks like an S14. Amazing car, and of course the best of the best. He is a fabricator from building a lot of the cars, building Kevin Quinn's car, building a couple of guys on the Grid's car. He's a really talented guy. He's got to get it done himself today, and it'll be all in the back of his mind as he throws that R33 onto clip 3 with precision and with accuracy, and he's looking good.
Yeah, looking really good out there. Joe Doyle is well suited to this Mondello circuit in this big chassis. Nice and flowy for him. And you know what, Dave? Don't rule Joe Doyle out. He could be a contender later on this afternoon. Could we see him taking his maiden victory here at the Irish Drift Championship? Certainly based on what we're seeing at the moment, definitely a contender. Very nice run from Joe Doyle in that Quinn Motorsport. As you were saying, Dave, definitely one of the coolest R33 Skylines in the world. And the fabrication work that he does is second to none.
Incredible. Good run too. Very smoky, lots of impact. Exactly what I want to see here as we kick off qualifying at the prize fight. Hit Mondello 85.3. Joe Doyle goes top. Joe Doyle way out there in the lead with an 85.3. That's a statement of intent, Eddie.
That certainly is. Look, it was looking good right from the off, and lots of impact, lots of smoke, lots of speed, and Joe Doyle, he's here for the win.
Absolutely. As we move on to our next driver, it is Kieran Casey. Kieran Casey, the support worker from Limerick, representing Bumpinance, of course, the charity organisation. Make sure you give generously. That's exactly what Kieran has it on the side of the car. If you're an IDC fan, make sure you check out their website and give whatever you can to support those guys and the great work they do. SR20, 480 horsepower, throwing it into the first corner.
Yeah, stroke the SR20 under the bonnet, and Kieran Casey doing a nice job getting nice and wide. And we always say a lot of the weight of the score is based on clip 1 to 3, and Kieran Casey did a very nice job nailing that line through the first section. Now what can he do as he comes into the wall zone? This looking good here and shaping up to be a really strong run from Kieran Casey if he can keep in this one, Dave. Nice little transition back now through the final 2 clipping zones, and you know what, this could be a contender for top spot. It's definitely going to be up there with the big boys.
It's starting to heat up now, Eddie.
It certainly is.
The temperature of the track and the cars, and of course now the scores are getting much, much, much better. That's a great run again from Kieran Casey. And as I said before, you come in here saying, oh, it's going to be this guy, it's going to be that guy. But believe me, there's a lot of drivers out there driving way beyond what they've done before and know how much it means to them.
So we wait to see if that score is better than an 85 of Joe Doyle, or will Kieran Casey be down the order just a little bit? A 74.7 point puts him into 5th position. So a 74.7 puts him into 5th position.
Incredible stuff there, and we move it along to Mark McBurney as our next driver. Mark McBackwards, they call him, for the extreme angle he can pull on track. The engineer from County Antrim, all smiles behind the wheel of his SR20 400 horsepower 180SX. And this used to be his road car. He used to go to the shops in this car. Well, now it's for a different purpose. It's for going out here and getting big scores in qualifying.
This, of course, his 2nd year in the pro class as well, Dave, and starting just to you know, get comfortable, get used to you know, the way things work in pro. And could we see him contend here this weekend? Certainly a man that likes to put in big angle through the first corner, and this run no different as he fires it through that first section. Really nice line and big angle as he just collects all these clipping zones on his way to what looking like a very respectable run here from Mark McBurney. Fires it onto the wall. Can he keep it in? And just hugs that white line all the way around. This is really good from Mark McBurney.
Nearly perfect so far, Eddie. This is a big score coming in if he can hold it together. Oh, and big angle at the end, almost cost him, but he gets it across the line.
Just gets back on power in time to keep the forward momentum running.
That's a huge run.
And I think, you know what, I think the grandstand liking that one as well, Dave. Hearing some claps and some cheers from those guys, and
that was
things are really starting to heat up here in Mondello Park.
I mean, he had a little bit of an error at the end with just coming on too much angle just towards the finish line. But before that, it was just sensational. And a very technical circuit here, Eddie, so not easy. I mean, they're having a good word here, the judges. And generally, that means it's either going to be great or it's not going to be great. And I think that means it's going to be great. Mark McBurney puts in a cracker. Let's see what he scored. An 86.3 for Mark McBurney puts him into 1st position in qualifying. Huge run, Eddie, and it is a day that the underdog may just come through.
Yeah, look, a lot of guys here, you know, sometimes the pressure of a big prize fund can sort the men from the boys, and some people can shine where others that, you know, can just falter. And certainly Mark McBurney looking like a man on a mission right now. Could he be going home with 20 grand in the pocket?
Well, here's another man that was under a bit of pressure. It was Kevin Quinn. Snapped a coilover completely in half in practice rather. Had to scramble to get this car back out for qualifying. His team were working tremendously hard, and here he is up for his first qualifying run. The owner of Quinn M Sport, 700 horsepower, 2JZ, firing it in and on a huge aggression.
Yeah, Kevin Quinn, a man that has really been making a name for himself in this pro class and in the competition over in the BDC, and he would like nothing more than just to stamp his authority onto this championship here this weekend by taking home the win, but getting a little bit out of shape as he tags the wall coming into the teardrop section, and just sets him offline. And finishing in style here is Kevin Quinn, but that error should cost him quite significantly on his score. But
still a very good run, Eddie. And just so, you know, a lot of people are a bit confused about the last section of the course when they come by that inside clip. You actually have a clipping zone to get there. It's a wide start to the corner and it tucks into a tight end. A lot of drivers there cutting the course on an inside line like McBurney and Quinn. That's going to hurt their score a little bit. It is the wrong line there. They want to go out wide onto link engine management corner, then sort of pull across on an apex at the end of the corner. So that's what's costing a little bit of that. But look at this, 75 on the board for Kevin Quinn, puts him into 6th position. Great first run, especially with a team that weren't sure if that car was going to be out in action at all a couple of moments ago. So returning, and we want to say a huge congratulations to Shane O'Sullivan, who just welcomed a baby boy yesterday morning and said, everything looks okay here, I'm going to go drifting in Mondello tomorrow.
Yeah, the future of Irish drifting was born yesterday, and you can imagine that kid will be certainly playing a big part in Shane's life and will follow him all the way through his motorsport career. But Shane, at the moment, has one task at mind, and that's to take home his first ever win at the Irish Drift Championship. And Dave, he is nailing the circuit. But what else would you expect from Shane O'Sullivan, a veteran of Irish motorsport and so used to this Mondello circuit, looking really good, just getting a little bit out of shape as he came into the teardrop. But the rest of this run has been very strong indeed. Can he finish in style? Sporting that brand new graphics scheme on the car as well. The car looking awesome this weekend.
Yeah, of course.
And Shane O'Sullivan crosses the line.
Yeah, very good run from Shane Sullivan. He would be down on practice compared to the rest of his competitors today with no practice yesterday or Friday, but Hamanu knows this Mondello circuit quite well, so I expect him to be in the mix as things move along for that 20,000 grand prize today. Shane O'Sullivan awaits his score from the judges, and let's see what way it goes. I think, not perfect. I'd say, 76.7 for Shane O'Sullivan into 5th position, but a very good start to the campaign today for him. And for me, I think he's looking like a contender already. I said 20,000 grand there. That's a lot of money. We don't have that kind of money. Okay, 20,000 euro.
Just in case.
50 billion euro on the line today. Oh, sorry. Okay, we move on to our next driver. It is going to be Daniel O'Callaghan. Has taken most of the front end of his car off in practice and for overheating issues. He has looked incredible so far, making 2 for 2 in top 16s in his pro rookie year, but coming in extremely hot here into League Edge of Magic Car. Will drop a wheel and lifts it. Again, we see another driver lifting a wheel, throwing the car off, steering, and it's going to cost him big time.
Yeah, that's the risk reward for going for that aggressive outer line, and unfortunately not working out for Daniel O'Callaghan this time around, but a very capable driver, and look, this is a brand new build, and this car is just so impressive. Daniel O'Callaghan played football for Cross McLean Rangers back in the day, but you know what? You only need one ball for that, and he decided to switch it up and change it to. I stole that one from Neil Dunn. I'm not going to lie.
That was all right. That was all right. We'll take that one. So he does it before he goes to 0, though. A huge error there, as you can see. He had a big problem, and just looking in the background there, we have a recovery truck removing a car from the grid, so just going to wonder who that is. We're having some issues, and of course it's a hard day on cars here right now, but next up on it looks like Ryan Caldwell was on the line there. It looks like he's having issues. He needs recovery. Mike Fitz, though, takes to the circuit. Hamani said that not only would 20 grand change his life, but winning a round of the Irish Drift Championship, he's been hunting it for over 8 years now, maybe 10 years almost, trying to hunt that elusive win. He is in the Drift Games 2JZ 500 horsepower or X7, and he is a man who's been around this track quite some time. He's got very close to the podium with Mondello on numerous occasions. Today he said he's feeling comfortable, he's feeling confident, and he's still smiling in the sunshine. And look at this, Mike Fitzgerald doing a good job of staying on that qualifying line so far.
Yeah, Mike doing a really nice job here. Very tidy run so far, and as you say, Dave, getting this car back on the grid after big impact at round 2 in Dundleary. But the guys at Group D, Darren McNamara, helping Mike get this car looking perfect and shipshape again, as he is just nailing the line here. Look at this from Mike Fitzgerald as he crosses the line in the Drift Games RX7. Round of applause for Mike Fitzgerald. I think that one's going to go big, Dave. I'm not sure if it's a contender for top spot, but certainly it's going to be right up there.
Yeah, it wasn't massive risk reward on it, but it was very technically very good, and I think that's going to reward him. I think, the judges are looking for a certain line. They want a little bit of, if you're going to get above 85, I think you're going to have to do something special, especially, when we've seen so many runs over the weekend. But I think Mikey Fitz doing a good job of keeping that run together, and I think it's going to take the pressure off him. 77.7 for Mike Fitz. 4th position is where he goes, and it does take the pressure off, Eddie. Put a score on the board, you can risk it a little bit on the second to try and get to those top 8 positions.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's about getting yourself into the game. That's the most important part here at the moment. You don't want to go out with 2 zeros in qualifying and no chance at the 20,000 euro. Now Paul McCarthy sits on the line, a man that has won 3 rounds of the Irish Drift Championship in the past, a man that has been on the podium here in Mondello Park a number of times, and he is no stranger to this circuit as he makes his way through the chicane on the start line. Down the stretch he comes, and he fires in through the first corner. Big angle from Paul McCarthy, and a man that, Dave, you would not want to be coming up against him in the battles. Can he see himself into the straight into the top 16? Well, it's shaping up like a good run so far from Paul McCarthy.
Yeah, well, he says he comes to every round to try and win it. It doesn't matter what's on the line. He wants to win another round. He's won 3 rounds of the Irish Drift Championship, making him one of the most successful drivers in the history of the sport, Eddie. Think about it. Always the underdog, but not when you've got statistics like that. And look at this, another fantastic run from Paul McCarthy. So Paul McCarthy puts in a solid run again. I think we're going to see a lot of guys holding the cards close to the chest, basically based on, well, in my opinion, based on the fact that they don't want to mess it up and lose the competition before they've even had a chance to compete. So I think we're going to have a couple of cagey runs until the second half, and when we get to the second half, we're going to see guys really push for those. Remember, top 8 qualifying means you actually essentially skip a battle. You're straight into the top 16. So it's nearly the same commitment as a battle if you want to go that direction with your run.
Yeah, and I think that could play on people's mind just a bit more and just how they actually approach things. But a 78.3 dropping in for Paul McCarthy sees him into 4th position and inside that top 8, Dave, as you mentioned, for the moment. And he will be going back to that pit area.
It's not Neil Dunn. In fact, it's Alan Hines. Alan Hines has broken his car, and the way he drives, I'm not surprised. And now he has taken another man's car and said, I might break this one as well.
Yeah, Alan Hines suffering clutch problems earlier on this morning. Felt that clutch was just on its way out and didn't have enough legs in it to get him all the way through the competition. So he's taken a borrowed car that he has never driven, hasn't done one lap in this car, mind you. Not even a lap in practice. Straight away, just jumping into this car. Look at this.
Without a lap in practice, he takes Neil Dunn's car into the course and has to do it all now by feeling it out as he goes through the course. I struggled even find the clutch in a rental car when I go on holidays. This guy's taking someone else's car out and nailing it towards those walls.
Yeah, I just can't put into words how impressed I am with what he's doing here on his very first run here in this car. This is insane stuff from Alan Hines. This may not go top, Dave, but this is certainly a very scoreable run, and Alan Hines is getting himself into the show here.
Well, I mean, everyone else has practiced for 2 days in a car, and he just comes out on his first lap and puts a score on the board. That is incredible stuff. Of course, he has driven this track 4 million times in the virtual world. He is one of the best online drifters out there, representing Pro Drift Academy and Vittor Tires, but he now has to go out there and sort of battle uphill against things today in a car that's he's not familiar with. And let's see what he scores. 72.3, but 12th position on your first lap in a car you've never driven before. Ain't bad going. So we back to the line we go, and it is going to be Mitch Larner up on the line. And Mitch Larner, the Thunder from Down Under. If you're new to drifting, this is what happened. He was in the mix in Dunleary at round 2, blew his engine, flew back to Australia, built an engine in Australia, took it apart, brought it as carry-on and luggage to Ireland, built the engine in Ireland then into the car 3-4 days ago, mapped it, and the Thunder from Down Under is back in the fight.
Yeah, back in the fight and gunning for that top spot. He wants the streak and he wants 20 Gs. Could today be the day for Mitch Larner? Just as he was about to approach the line, he was ready to step up against Dwayne McKeever at round 2. The engine gives way, but he is back and he is ready to redeem himself and take home the prize fund. Can Mitch Larner go top of qualifying here, Dave? Lots of impact on this run, but I'm not sure it's as technically perfect as some of the other runs we've seen. Hand out the window, Mondello makes some noise. For the man with the longest commute in drifting worldwide at the moment.
Absolutely flying from Perth, Western Australia to Ireland 5 times a year, and it seems like every time he flies he has to rebuild that car and get it ready to come and compete in front of you guys here in Mondello Park. And Mitch Larner puts his first run on the board, definitely one of the contenders. Can he put a statement of intent here as things kick off? Mitch Larner puts the first run on the board. What will it be? An 89.3 for Mitch Larner, goes top, first position for Mitch Larner, and things are heating up because right now on the line is probably his biggest threat to his streak, or beating the streak today, is of course the undefeated Dwayne McKeever. He has won 2 rounds of the Irish Drift Championship. He has won 2 rounds of the British Drift Championship.
2 rounds, Dave, yes.
So he's won 4 rounds this year already. This is his 5th. And everyone's saying, what are you going to spend the money on, Dwayne? He's like, do not talk to me at all today because this is business time. And he said he's a little bit nervous, but he's got to get it all done today. Dwayne McKeever, let's see what he's got.
Yeah, not just 20,000 on the line, a championship on the line at stake. And these two guys, Larner and McKeever, 1 and 2 in the championship. McKeever nailing that line just as you'd expect. Pinpoint accuracy from McKeever as he looks so quick through the circuit, Dave. Nicely onto the wall. Tags that rear bumper. Oh, almost loses the spoiler. It unsettles his line a little bit with that impact to the wall. McKeever as aggressive as always as he puts foot to floor.
Every wall he's hit, Eddie. He hit every clip, every wall, everything he could do. I think that's as good as it gets.
Look,
that must be as good as it gets.
A round of applause from the judges. The only way he's going to go top is if he goes into the 90s, and I think he may have just done enough, Dave.
Yeah, he broke both taillights, broke both ends of the spoiler, and I think he might have broken the record here for what's the highest score we can in the first half of qualifying. Let's see if it's enough to beat Mitch Larner. We might have a huge fight on our hands here, Eddie, for today with these two guys. One from the north of Ireland, one from Australia in Ireland, competing for €20,000. Let's see what it is. 91.7 for Dwayne McKeever. Puts him into first position. An incredible, incredible first half of qualifying.
for each of our drivers, and this is the moment where they're going to really have to push hard and try and get themselves into those top 8. Of course, if you qualify 1 to 8, you go straight through automatically into the top 16. If you qualify 9 to 24, you got to battle your way into that top 16. So a lot up for grabs for those guys in the first 8 positions.
Okay, well, we're going to take a small break just to recalibrate our system here. And before we head into the second half of qualifying, we're going to have a look at what went down yesterday, Eddie. For you just tuning in today, there's some of the action from yesterday from practice and, of course, Pro-Am competition. Very relevant to Tomas Falvey, who's on the line right now.
So that's it from Pro-Am competition here at round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship from Mondello Park. We had perfect sunny conditions here today, and you know what? Things got a little bit heated out on the track as well. All these drivers battled so hard throughout the competition, and we're about to take a look back at some of the action that happened throughout the day. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. So there you have it. That was all the action from yesterday afternoon. Very intense stuff, and as we say, 4 drivers qualifying from semi-pro or Pro-Am into this main event here. We are halfway through the first runs of pro qualifying. Each of these drivers with 1 run left to get it done, to get themselves into the game for the biggest event with the biggest prize money that we have ever had in Irish drifting and possibly drifting worldwide. This is a colossal event, but you know what? There's money on the line, but there's a championship at stake, and that is just as important to all of these drivers. Who's going to take home 20 G's? So we are just waiting for our drivers to get ready on the line for the second half of qualifying, and of course we will, as always, go in reverse order. Reverse championship order, and we will go back to our drivers that qualified in from yesterday's competition. And you know, those guys saying that no pressure on their shoulders, it's just bonus time for them into the Sunday main event, and they can just enjoy their driving, just try and get as much track time as possible, hopefully make their way into some battles, and see if they can, you know, stick it to the door of some of the bigger names in the sport and learn from them, and you know what, maybe progress through the competition. So Ryan Caldwell, Dave, on the line, missed his first run, but it looks as though those guys at Quinn Motorsport and the team, family Caldwell, got that car back up and running and back out online.
Yeah, very much a family affair there, I'm sure, and half of the north of Ireland was down there trying to get that car ready. Ryan Caldwell, a real contender here today. The youngster throws it in. Look at that entry, Eddie. Huge angle, almost 90 degrees, but he's lost it, and that could be an issue with the steering on the car or something to do with why that car wasn't making it out to the first run.
Yeah, look, very unfortunate. A lot of pressure on the shoulders of young Ryan Caldwell, and very much offline through that first corner, and look,
yeah, he shuts
it down off track. So
definitely something wrong there.
Some issue with the car, and
well, you know what? He was in bonus time, Eddie, because he currently leads the Pro-Am Championship by 1 point over Lee Scott right now. So he is doing the job in the Pro-Am class, which is his main focus for the year. Bonus time, of course, today. Would love to get a shot at that €20,000, but I think with 2 runs now incomplete, Ryan's going to have to concede that that's not going to be the case today.
Guys, he's out of the car. Give him a round of applause. Very unfortunate way to end his weekend here, but you can just see. Do you know what? Ryan Caldwell will be back for round 4, and you know, one of the rising stars.
Look at all the there's coolant or oil on the ground there, Eddie. You can see it just off the edge of the track. That's why he pulled off. You can see there's just something leaking from the car. Could be a cooling issue, could be an oil issue. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, shaking ahead from Ryan Caldwell there, not to be. Guys, once again, a big round of applause. These guys put their heart and soul into it, and it doesn't always work out, but
We want to give them plenty of encouragement, Eddie, because it isn't an easy game. I mean, I think one thing I've noticed about drifting, especially in the IDC or in Ireland right now, is just how numb everybody is to how good it is. I've noticed that recently. You go to any other country in Europe, you don't get the level of competition there is in Ireland. If you're only watching Irish drifting and you just come to IDC and you're a fan, so we're going to we might be able to get a word with Ryan to see exactly what went on with the car.
Thanks, Dave. I'm here with Ryan Caldwell. Unfortunately, Ryan, you look to be very, very good. Awesome day there yesterday. Didn't quite work out today. Tell us what's happening with the car there now.
Yeah, the power steering pipe busted going to the rack, so put us out. But we won yesterday, so we're happy enough.
Today's just a bonus for you, so any chance of getting it repaired, or you'll be ready for the next round anyway, certainly?
We'll be back for the next round, so we push hard a little bit.
That's the job. Thanks very much, Ryan.
Thanks, guys. So, Ryan, power steering issues there, Eddie, seems to be what has caused him to be out of the competition. And as said, Neil saying, will he get it repaired? Not anything repaired for left of this weekend. He's out of qualifying 2 runs now.
I gotta say, I love the attitude that these young guys show. You know, it's always just a focus on, you know, the next round.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of disappointment. We saw it with Lee Scott yesterday, and I spoke to him afterwards, and he was just like, well, you know, these things happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I watch a lot of drifting. We do a lot of traveling with drifting. And one thing you notice is that the drivers out there on the track, for me, are just so incredibly competitive, and they look forward to the next thing rather than just dwelling on the moment and how negative it can be. It's a different game, especially when you're here in the flesh and you're here in Mondello Park and you see how fast these guys are going, how much they're going in. You get numb to the fact that, you know, any mechanical issue you see on track is your week's wages gone, like just instantly gone. And they're not millionaires. These are normal guys who have to go through that financial pain and torture to try and keep doing this sport, which isn't financially rewarding, especially in Ireland. I mean, it is incredible to see that they put so much effort, time in cars. These are like almost international spec cars in a tiny little country with one racetrack. And these guys watch from all over the world, over 30 countries watching in. It's incredible to see how far it's come. And I think for a lot of us who've been in the sport, a lot of people watch IDC, you just completely forget that 5 years ago there was no live stream, there was no tarmac here in the middle of Mondello, there wasn't sponsor banners all around the place, there was only one car on the grid that had over 600 horsepower, and here we are with 30 countries watching, 20,000 on the line. 700 horsepower is, you know, just a figure at this stage.
Yeah, and only one driver that could consistently hit the wall zones around the tracks
exactly.
as well. You know,
I mean,
so
we would have.
The standard has just increased so tenfold in the last number of years.
Absolutely.
Everybody in Ireland has really raised their game, and you know, every round isn't going to be a spectacular round, and you come to some events and you almost there's this level of expectation that it's going to be perfect, that the drivers are going to be perfect every time, but they're normal human beings. They feel stress, they feel pressure, they feel tired, and you know, they work tirelessly, sleepless nights to get these cars to these events, and then
yeah, I think it for people who watch live stream especially, I mean, all you see is the action. You don't see anything behind the scenes. You don't see all the work that goes into it. You don't see the dramas and the stresses and the financial risks and the late nights in the shed. You just look at it like you're watching a football match or you're watching anything else. There's no personal attachment. But with these guys, when something goes wrong like it did for Ryan Caldwell there, it hurts, and it hurts all the work that your team and your effort have put in. So guys, a round of applause there for Ryan Caldwell, the current leader of the Pro-Am Championship here at the Irish Drift Championship, brought to you by Link Engine Management, and he gets recovered off the circuit. And you know what, grandstand's starting to fill up after qualifying. If you're here in the flesh, well, we're going to bring all the cars out onto the circuit, and you guys can come down, meet the drivers, check out the machines, and get a couple of photos, get a couple of autographs. You can go out onto the track and see up close how incredible these cars are. Remember, the fastest stock chassis cars in the world, easily the highest horsepower cars consistently of any championship in Ireland or the UK. It's an incredible achievement for these guys who are building cars that are faster than supercars in their sheds in Ireland, generally with the help of family and friends. Incredible stuff.
also, if you are in attendance, make sure and get down to the Irish Drift Championship merchandise tent where Jess and the girls will look after you. Brand new range of merchandise, of clothing for Irish Drift Championship and for Drift Games. Two incredibly cool brands there. And
do you know what? For one weekend in the history of Irish drifting, people might even buy sunglasses and t-shirts.
Yeah, you know what? Sunglasses on sale.
Not just hoodies and coats.
Protect your eyes from those harmful UV rays.
Absolutely. And of course, we have got something very interesting to talk about, as well as we're going to come back to what is the next round of the Irish Drift Championship. Tickets on sale tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. It is the Irish Motor Festival. Drifting returns to Punchestown, and we want to give you a little close-up look at what that's going to be all about.
On August 11th and 12th, the Irish Motor Festival touches down in Punchestown Racecourse, County Kildare. Celebrating all things motoring, the festival brings exotic cars, modified cars, and classic cars together under one roof, alongside the thrill of the Irish Drift Championship. Not only that, but there'll be plenty of trade and food stalls to make your way around, as well as drift car passenger rides, live entertainment, and lots more for the whole family to enjoy. Discounted early bird tickets and general admission tickets are on sale 9 a.m. Monday. Grandstand tickets are limited, so head on over to www.irishmotorfestival.com for all further event information.
So there you have it, Eddie. Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. There is just 1,800 grandstand seats available. A grandstand in Punchestown for drifting has never been done before. Tomorrow morning, get on those tickets. Do not be disappointed.
Yeah, I for one am very excited to return to Punchestown. It's been sorely missed, that event. It was such a great venue, and very excited to be going back there. I think it's going to be a special round.
Absolutely. We move on back to the second half of qualifying. It's business time here at the Irish Drift Championship Pro Class, brought to you by Link Engine Management. Tomas Falvey takes to the track for his second run and his first ever session in the Pro Classic qualifying. Let's see if he can improve on a fairly solid first run.
Very solid indeed. He scored a 62.7 on his first attempt, so not bad from Tomas Falvey, who's just loving life at the minute, and taking in a very nice line as he comes around by Link ECU corner, much deeper this time around than his first attempt. And I think Tomas, knowing it needs to just push that a little bit harder just to ensure himself a spot inside that top 24 and a place in battle action later on. Just how cool does that Drift Games S15 look, Dave, as it takes to the circuit?
Yeah, very well presented car. It sounds great, it looks great, but you have to get a great score to go with it, and let's see if Tomas can improve on his first run and see if he can get himself up the order. Right now, the conversation is Larner and McKeever at the top there, but you got to look at those other guys creeping up towards that top score as well. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all comes together. And Dwayne McKeever starting as he means to go on, but look at that, 71 for Tomas Falvey puts him dead square at 15th position. And 15th position right now isn't so bad. Might just get him through.
Nice bump up the order there for Tomas Falvey. We move it on to the next driver on the line, and coming through from yesterday's competition, Graham Holden. The start of this year, this guy was an IADC driver.
Yep, IADC amateur driver, came through, just showing how that championship builds great future stars. And Graham Holden is certainly one of those, representing Suffolk Plant Sales as he tries it, fires in the corner. Nice control of the throttle there. Look at that, guaranteeing he makes it to clip 3. Not the fastest line in full throttle through there, but very technical. And as you can see, having to negotiate through some of the dust thrown out of that gravel trap at Link Engine Management corner. And look at this nice wall run down as he tries to get his rear end as close to that wall as possible. It's a very tricky section, Eddie. A lot of guys saying it's very, very challenging. And of course, with so much on the line today, it has to be. And Graham did a great job so far of just feathering that throttle and getting that S15 fronted 14 across the line. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, Graham leaving the line there, knowing that on a 57, probably not enough to get him into the top 24. Needed to improve on it, and it looks as though he may have done so. Very technically correct run from the Pro-Am driver, making his debut, of course, as we mentioned, Dave, in this Pro Class today. And what a day to do it. A 62.7, enough for 19th position. Will it be enough when all's said and done? Well, we'll find out in probably 30 minutes' time.
Absolutely. Armas Fiscalis onto the line he goes. Originally from Lithuania, now living in London. He's representing Litcraft Claims and Power Force Limited. He is this car running 1,000 horsepower, but he's never driven it before today. He was a Latvian champion, a Baltic Drift champion, and here he is in the Irish Drift Championship, hoping to be. Look at this lunacy on entry from Aramis Vasquez.
Yeah, taking out cones, almost going backwards through that first corner. Aramis Vasquez is on for a big run here. Massive angle, massive speed. Look at the forward bite of this vehicle, Dave. Incredible, as it sends up plumes of smoke, shredding tyres. Now Aramis throws it down onto the wall. Just has to back out of it a little bit.
He shuts it
so
down.
Unfortunate.
And he has an issue with that car. That is heartbreaking. What entry did he try and attempt there, Eddie? Didn't even make any sense.
Crazy
Can we get a replay of the entry? Can we get a replay, a live stream team of that entry? Is that possible? Because that was the maddest entry I've probably ever seen. Guys, round of applause for Aramis Vasquez, throwing it all down in Mondello Park. But again, looking like he has an issue with the rear end. The guy's first run might be enough, but definitely a mechanical issue. Aramis Vasquez, sort of the story of his championship at the moment.
Yeah, put a 66.7 on the board in his first run, Dave. So in the mix there at the moment, and certainly a reasonable score. One that could have him in and around the drop zone.
It looks like a diff or a drive shaft failure, which just seems to hamper Aramis every time he comes out here in the Irish Drift Championship. As he gets recovered from the track, he pulled off what was the most ridiculous entry I think I've ever seen into the first corner of Mondello Park. Sort of a lack of experience almost helped him to have no fear whatsoever, Eddie, and go for an absolutely monstrous run, but just couldn't pull it together.
Well, in his own words, Dave, he says he's a very aggressive driver. He's a door hunter with no brain, so maybe that would explain it. If you've no brain, you've no concept of fear.
That's true. He has to have some sort of a brain to be able to manage. Well, maybe it's like a jellyfish. It's just an instinctual thing.
I think so, yeah.
So Aramis Vasquez will be recovered from the track.
He was born with the ability to drift and dial on massive angle.
That's pretty much all he does. And you know what? Every time I see his name come up on that entry list, you always get something special from Aramis. There's no 90%, there's no 95%, it's 100% every single time. Incredible stuff from Aramis Vasquez on entry. We can't get a replay of that run, can we? Just asking my live stream guys there, can we get a replay of that run? Because I want to see that entry again. I genuinely very rarely want to see a qualifying run replayed, but I want to see what happened there.
Well, here we go, Dave. Your wish is
He's
our
on the
command.
wrong side of the track, and look at the angle right about here. Backwards into the first corner he goes, and still gets the clipping
dials on
zone
even
3.
more angle through 3.
That's ridiculous.
Crazy stuff.
There's no need for it. There's just no need for it.
There's plenty need for it, Dave, to be fair to you.
He broke a diff, we're hearing from the marshals, so a diff broken from Aramis Vasquez, and the car being recovered off the track right now, and you can see just puts on the power, one wheel spins and the other doesn't, and instantly he knows.
I wonder was it where he had that dirt drop, the car took an awful bounce, wonder if
yeah,
that have contributed
could be
towards
something
the
to do with it. I mean, he did have a pretty heavy bounce off the edge of the track, and that rear wheel looks a bit strange to me. Looks like it's cambered out of the top quite a bit. Maybe that was the reason the diff went. Dan Moorhead gives me a thumbs up and says, well done, Dave, for analysing anything mechanical whatsoever from a distance. I'm proud. It's like a son leaving the home, Dan, isn't it? Taught me well. So, yeah, you can see he's either running the most ridiculous amount of camber anyone's ever run to get grip out of a car, but obviously there's a bit of a rut that's begun to, across from the tower here, sort of as they come out of Link Engine Management Corner, when they transition to wide, it's actually where the tarmac meets the grass, but it's off the circuit, and it actually is just a bit of a divot. Hit that. We've been warning drivers in briefing as well. You drop off the track here, there's just such a rut built up, and there's nothing you can do about it, but obviously so much hot weather. It's very, very coarse ground. And we'll just see if that did do the damage. I mean, look at this. As he comes back here, this is where I believe the damage was done. Watch just that little edge of the track. Watch. Bang. Now that is what I think caused the issue with the rear end of the car. And as you can see, it definitely did some damage. That obviously put the rear end of the car out of alignment and caused an issue with the diff when he went back on power. So,
yeah, look, I mean, we talk about the outer extremes of this circuit, and a lot of guys do end up dropping wheels, which does create over the course of a weekend these big divots. And
well, you would think, Eddie, that 3 walls would be enough to worry about on a track, and then and a big high-speed entry, but not.
No, a bit of grass. Bit of grass.
It was the grass that got them in the end.
Yeah.
The bit of grass. And also, if you drop off into the gravel at Link Engine Management Corner, you're going to go up on 2 wheels and just bury into the gravel, and you might do damage there also to the underside of the car. So there's pretty much nowhere on this track you can't do damage, which is shows how knife edge, which doesn't appear to be as knife edge when you look at it first, this track can be. And that's why it's become one of the most famous drift tracks in the world, Eddie. I mean, everyone talks about Mondello and that entry, that blind over the hill off camber entry, and then now you add in multiple walls and everything. It becomes a bit of a menace to everybody on the grid.
Yeah, we've certainly managed to build on the I suppose the options that we have here in Mondello Circuit. Round of applause there for Aramis as he heads off back to the pits to hopefully the team will be able to get that car sorted and back out. It looks as though, at the moment, 66.7 from his first run, Dave. Imagine he could be safe enough for top 24.
Yeah,
maybe
it's a good
nervous
score.
weight, though.
It's a good score, and that's the thing. You don't want to be letting the rest of the grid decide if you're in or not, and that's essentially what happens when you eliminate yourself in this situation. So he's got to wait and see if everyone comes out and puts in a cracker over a run now, he's out of the competition, so he has no control. He'd rather go out there and wait. He entered that first corner. I would have said Aramis thought, well, I'm going for the 100-point run here. I'm going for a high 90s because that's going to guarantee me straight into the top 16 main event. 1 in 16 chance of getting there. We're moving along. Next up, Sultan Al Qasimi from the United Arab Emirates, running this car coming with 650 horsepower, 650 torque, LS engine under the bonnet, V8, full carbon Kevlar car, inside and out, roof, everything, all carbon Kevlar. Crazy to see how far drift cars can be. He even has a carbon fiber cup holder in the car, and then just for weight saving. Here we go. Sultan throws it into that first corner. He is the current Emirates drift champion. And looking pretty smooth here as he transitions back into link engine management corner, coming on the power early. This thing has plenty of go when it needs to.
Yeah, look, Sultan has really come a long way, and his driving has really stepped it up a notch, and hugging that outer line as he comes through the teardrop section of the circuit, representing Monster Energy and Lunatics by Nature here this weekend. And Sultan, one of the nicest guys on the grid, Dave. Always, you know, a good laugh when you're around Sultan. He's a really great sense of humor, and you know, you'd need that hanging around with Darren McNamara for long periods.
And we asked him, you know, is it strange being from the United Arab Emirates and competing in IDC? He said, "Shrine from Buttevant to County Cork."
He's developing a Cork accent.
He is. He says he's developing a Cork accent. So if you see a man around the pits shouting, "Well, lad," but it looks like he's from the Middle East, and that's Sultan. So Sultan scores a 70, jumps up to 16th position. And that's a first debut for that car this weekend. He's going to be happy with that. 2 scores on the board and a solid one at that. Tomas Kiley, though, probably not as happy with his first run.
No, certainly not. He only scored a 53.7, Dave. Not what we were expecting to see from the young man when he came back out on track. Of course, returning to competitive action here this weekend, and for this weekend only, likes the idea of taking home that €20,000 prize fund.
He's coming very hot on the second run here, and he knows such understeer issues as he had on the first, and right to the extremes of the circuit, just about holds on.
Yeah, right in that wide line, using every last bit of grip from those Achilles tires as he throws it down onto the wall. Big angle from Tomas Kiley, and Kiley's off for a big run here. Judges looking at this one very closely, and Kiley, with just 2 clips remaining, gets back on the power through the final section, maybe a little bit lower on the track than he would have liked, but as he clouds out Mondello Park. Guys, put your hands together for Tomas Kiley.
We might have another man in the fight now, Eddie. Tomas Kiley starts to find his form very quickly, and I think that's going to jump his score up massively. Is it enough to bother Larner and McKeever at the top of the leaderboard so far? Let's see what he scores. And you know what? It's good to have Tomas Kiley back on track and running an incredible, aggressive line as we're used to seeing, Eddie. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, look, you know, no real pressure for him. He's not concerned about a championship. It is just this day, this event, and there'll be a lot of guys worried about him on the grid. 80.3 for Tomas Kiley. He jumps into 6th position, and inside that top 8 for the moment. We will keep you updated as to whether or not he's going to have to battle to get into the top 16.
Yeah, incredible stuff. 6th position for Tomas Kiley as he now enters the fight. Incredible stuff. And Gary, we were going to see Gary Dunn, but Gary Dunn actually got his car broken yesterday by Nigel Moody. So there you go, teammates taking each other out before we even get to qualifying. TJ Burney now comes off the line, representing Samco Sport. And he does claim that he cannot do the floss dance no matter how many times he tries. He says going around Mondello in 3rd gear is a lot easier. 450 horsepower. And TJ, as I said, a very good line driver. Not huge speed here from TJ Burney, but what he does have is fluidity and great line. Is he going for that outer wall? And look at that big lock up with the front brakes also as he starts to turn the screw around that teardrop section of the track and starts to put the hammer down and transitions on that inner clip. A little bit straight on that inner clip, but now trying to just finish the course with style and shutting it down a little bit, and yeah, car dying off a little bit there. Not sure exactly what happened.
Yeah, and could that be a 0 scored on that run for TJ, or was it enough? Was he close enough to the finish line? Certainly may end up relying on his first run at 64.3 was what he scored on his first attempt.
Yeah, so we move it along to our next driver onto the grid. We will see if David Hobbs can improve his score. It's 47.7, yeah, not enough to improve for TJ Burney. That big shutdown before the finish cost him some scores.
20th position, so, you know, very much close to that dropping zone.
Absolutely. It just looks like it's straight out of 1992. It's a real old school livery, old school style of driving.
Old school cool, and you know, David struggling to get the grips with the massive power that this car is now running, Dave. 220 brake horsepower there.
Yeah, 200 and plus horsepower, probably the lowest horsepower car in the class, but doesn't stop him from getting out to those outer clipping zones and showing how much he's got to pedal that throttle and stay full commitment throughout the whole course to make sure that run comes together. And David Hobbs firing back towards those walls, and can he keep it wide? He can. Hobbs doing a great job there. Shows that you don't need all the grip and horsepower in the world, just 15s and commitment, and here we go. Yeah. Hobbs put in a great run.
Real commitment and real, you know, props to David Hobbs for managing to keep this run so fluid as he crosses the line.
Round of applause for David Hobbs, keeping it alive for the underdog heroes here this weekend. Incredible
I mean, you talk
stuff.
about drifting and you talk about needing 500 or 600 brake horsepower just to be competitive. But look, that just goes to show you can get a car around the track with pure dedication and driver ability. And David Hobbs
Yeah, I mean,
Can he get himself in the game
It's
here?
not a perfect run, but it's a very, very good run. And I think the judges are going to reward him with, maybe not so much speed and impact, but definitely on technicality. A 70.7 for David Hobbs puts him into 17th position. Incredible stuff with just over 200 horsepower. That's what we want to see. A little bit of the underdog coming through. And again, it's a day where anything can happen. And we could even see a taxi take home the win today. It's Brendan Stone in the Stone Motorsport GS 300 takes off the line. This is an incredible 2JZ, over 600 horsepower, 4 seats, fun for all the family in the Stone Motorsport taxi.
And one aggressive driver in the driving seat, Brendan Stone, former champion. What can he do in the second half of qualifying? Just getting that outer third zone. Oh, but shuts it down, Dave.
Yeah, looks like he's having some issues here. They were having gearbox and clutch issues yesterday. Actually destroyed a gearbox in practice. Put it back in the car last night, but it looks like he might be fighting an uphill battle here. But he's back on the line again as Brendan Stone starts to fire out of that teardrop section, and lots of smoke and power out of this car, shredding up those Tri-Ace tires. Impressive stuff. And you know what? That's why he's an ex-champion. That's why he's been there and done it all.
Yeah, luckily for Brendan, has that first run, a 73 scored on that first attempt, so should be safe for top 24 later on this afternoon. We just wait to see, does he get a score on the board? A big error as he came into Link Engine Management corner. The judges deem it worthy of a score, though, 50.7, saying not straightening long enough for that to be classed as a 0. So he stays where he was, 14th position for Brendan Stone. We move to our next driver, which will be Alan McNeil, the service engineer.
Yeah, that's our 350 horsepower, 1,000 kg as he slams the door and gets ready for a big run here. All on the line for Alan McNeil. Has to put in a good run to get himself back into the game. If he doesn't, he may be going home. Lot to do here. Big flick entry from Alan O'Neill as he fires. Just dragging a wheel on the inside that corner, but does make it to clip 3. Transitions back and very fluid towards the Link Engine Management corner.
Yeah, just getting on the wrong line though there, Dave, as he misses that 4 clipping zone. And Alan McNeil now, as he transitions back across the track, needs to be inch perfect here. But again, just that correct line escaping him as he enters the teardrop. Not the one that Alan McNeil was looking for here.
Alan McNeil putting foot to floor as he takes it across the line. Big angle across that last slipping zone and shredding the last of those tires across the line. Not the most perfect technical run from Alan McNeil, but better, I think, than his first.
Yeah, look, a 53 on the first run. I don't know if that's going to be a massive improvement, Dave. A number of errors and just never really got comfortable and onto the correct qualifying line as we wait those judges' scores to drop in. See, will it be enough for Alan McNeil? Yeah, it does improve slightly. A 61.7, 23rd position, and very nervous weight right on the drop zone for Alan McNeil.
Yeah, but he gets himself into the mix, so at least he's got something to have a look at for the next. At least you're not, double zeroing and heading off straight away. Paul Conlon, he put in a great first run, Eddie.
He certainly did. A bit of old school Paul Conlon came out on circuit on a 75 on his first run. Now, can he bump that up a bit? Can we see a little bit more of this, strong, aggressive driving style from Paul Conlon as he comes out for his second run? Can he try to secure himself a spot in that grade 8? That top 8 in qualifying.
Yeah, big angle, big smoke for Paul Conlon as he drops the hammer and lets all of that 650 horsepower fire through those rear west legs, and big angle might cost him.
Yeah, just got offline and dialed in too much angle.
Yeah,
trying to get out to that second wall zone. But you know what? I'm liking this aggression from Paul Conlon. Certainly haven't seen this style from him in quite some time, and he is back with a bang here for round 3 of the Irish Drift Championship.
He was aiming for a top 8 spot, Eddie. That's exactly what he was doing there. He said, I'm going to have to do something special to get right up there in the mix. That's the risk reward. He has a safe run in the bank, so go out there, try and get your top 8 run, but it doesn't work out from that occasion. It spins out in the horseshoe.
Now, a man that doesn't have the option of a safe run is Charlie Geary. Just confirming the 0 there from Paul Conlon from our judges. Charlie Geary sits on a score of 49, Dave.
Yeah, it's do or die now for Charlie Geary. He either goes in here and puts on a phenomenal run, or he's going home. And that's how harsh this sport is. That's how harsh these competitors have to be. The quality of driving here is so high in the Irish Drift Championship. You can't just drift. Being a drifter, being a good drifter, or some man to drift is irrelevant anymore. Years ago, if you could get around the track, you were a great drifter in Ireland. Now, you've got to be sensational, you've got to be phenomenal. But you've also got to be better than 80 or 90 guys out there who can do just as good as you can. So he's got to hold his nerve here, come out here, prove why he's in the pro class and put on a solid run.
Yes.
This will be stressful times for Charlie Geary.
It certainly will. Still one of the underdogs in the pro class with one of the more lower horsepower cars, but looking to build something more impressive for the 2019 championship. But we get back to his run here today, and this looking much nicer from Charlie Geary as he's nailing that outer line. He brings it nicely onto the wall, just scrubs enough speed to hook that white line without dropping the wheel off track, Dave, and switching back nicely now. Can he get into the final wall? He certainly can. Charlie Geary may have woken up here this morning, Dave, because he's just put in a technically almost perfect run there.
That's a big run from Charlie Geary under pressure. Puts in a solid run and finds himself now in contention. I think that's going to jump his score up massively. Technically, to me, looked very good. He was a little bit off angle at clip 2 and a little bit of a long drag on the first wall, but other than that, he was pretty spot on. And do you know what? I think that's going to jump him right up the order. I'm impressed with him handling the pressure. 75 on the board for Charlie Geary. Puts him into 12th position, right up into the mix.
Yeah, big jump there from Charlie Geary, and he will be delighted with that as he heads back to his pit just to get some well-deserved rest. Now we move it along to a man who sits on the line. He sits on a 0 from his first run in one of the coolest cars you will see in world drifting, not just here in Ireland. Stuart Gilmore leaves the line, ready to take to the Mondello circuit. It's do or die. What has Gilmore got as he fires through? Big angle on that first corner, Dave. Can he take it out to that third zone? He certainly can.
He's got to watch this, though. He can't drop off the circuit like he did the last time. Dustin stays on the tarmac this time. Now he's got a fighting chance to get himself into that top 24 as he transitions nicely along that wall, just scraping the tail light.
You know what? It's a cool head on the shoulders of Stuart Gilmore, and he is tearing up this Mondello circuit. Big angle that he throws onto that final wall section. Can he hold it together, Dave? Looking like he can through the final clipping zone and over the line, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for Stuart Gilmore doing it when it counts.
I like that one. I liked it a lot. A lot of aggression, and he could have been cagey. He could have been safe there because he was on a 0, but he put big angle into some areas of the track, more than we've seen other drivers in previous runs. I think he's going to jump right up there again, and this is getting nervous for the guys who are sitting with lower scores from the first half of qualifying. They're going to have to get the job done on the second here. Stuart Gilmore is waiting for his scores to drop in from the judges. Let's see how, well, I'm assuming, yeah, up into 15th position he goes with a 73.7. So a big jump for Stuart Gilmore. And right now, it's a fight on our hands here, Eddie. People looking very strong, and Alan O'Loughlin is our next driver.
Yeah, and he's going to have to fight really hard here, Dave, because he also sits on a 0 after his first run. 2 consecutive 0s for these guys, Gilmore and O'Loughlin. Can O'Loughlin do what Gilmore did on his second run? Can he put in a big run? Can he score into the 70s? Can he score higher? Can he top qualifying? Big angle through the first corner, nicely on line so far, and this looking good from Alan O'Loughlin, who seems to have got his head right in the game here, just when it counts, as he starts to shred those tires. Oh, a bit of a straighten there, and this was looking really good up until that point. Gets it back on angle though, Dave, and just makes the necessary corrections. And this, was shaping up to be a really big run. That will mark his score down quite substantially, I think. But I think it should be enough to get him into the game.
Yeah, you know what? Technically, it wasn't so bad from Alan O'Loughlin. The pressure was on, and when the pressure's on, the Galway man sort of seems to come up, step up to the occasion and show why he is very much a valued member of the pro class here in the Irish Drift Championship. But yeah, was it a spectacular run? Probably not. I mean, it's not going to trend the guys at the top. But there you have 75.7 puts Alan O'Loughlin into 11th position. And impressive. All these guys coming in on the 0s from the first run are getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show the experience and I suppose the nerve that these guys have sitting on the line. It's a long wait from your first run. It's a long time to be thinking about that 0.
But it's a mental game, Eddie. A lot of these guys say driving is the easy part. Thinking about driving is the hard part, because you know what the pressure is, and you've done all this work for months to just get to 40 or 50 seconds. It's incredible. Dean Martin, our next driver up. Tire fitter from RD in County Louth. Fires into that first corner as M3 powered BMW, and just a little touch of understeer as he comes through and manages to hold it together. And now he's going to start dialing in that perfect run, making sure he stays to the outer extremes of the course, and a transition very close to the cone and outer zones there. Dean doing a good job so far, looking very comfortable. Running those tires right to the edge of the circuit, and solid as he now goes for that last flick back towards the wall. This one quite daunting for a lot of our drivers. Snappy transition. It looks like he is just one corner away from a very reasonable score here, a very decent score, something that should see him into the top 24.
Yeah, do you know what, Dave? I think that was a very fluid and smooth run, not too many corrections. As you say, a little bit of understeer on the first clip 1 and 2, and that just caused him to wash just ever so slightly wide. But from that point on, it was almost pinpoint accuracy from Dean Martin, and certainly I reckon that will be an improvement on his first.
Absolutely. Let's see where the scores come in now. Let's see what he does do, and is enough to see battle action to stay in the game. Just 24 guys. Yeah, 73.3 puts him into 17th position for Dean Martin. And remember, it's just 24 guys are going to stand there and ready for action for 20 grand on the line. And you want to be part of it. You want to be at least losing a battle today, not losing qualifying. Dennis Murphy, though, sits on a 0 after his first run.
Yeah, Dennis, the man that will definitely want to be part of this. This is big run coming here from the Cork tyre technician. What can he do here as he loses body panels down the straight? And Dennis Murphy fires through that first corner now. Gets it wide. Oh, almost lost the wheel over the line as he came through Link Engine Management, but just gets that car back to where it needs to be, back singing. Just missing the perfect line, Dave. He's just struggling with that car at the moment, and just seems to be battling to try and get it around the circuit as best as he can, get himself into the fight and reassess the situation afterwards. But sits on a 0. He certainly put a score on the board, but not the perfect run that he was hoping for. A few errors and some corrections along the way. Will it be enough, though, to get him into the game?
Something we didn't notice, Eddie, was that he entered this corner so fast that the back window of the car flew straight out of it. Incredible. Well, you noticed it, Eddie. My apologies. I did not notice it. I was too busy worrying about Dennis Murphy's health. 68 on the board means 23rd position for Dennis Murphy, just into the drop zone there.
A couple of drivers on 0s.
I was worried for Dennis there. It was just, you don't want to go on with 2 0s. It's the worst weekend you could possibly have. At least he's given himself a fighting chance at top 24 action with that score. Chris Brady's up next on the line.
Yes, Chris Brady, who has had minimal track time here this weekend. He's only managed a few laps this morning in this morning's practice. He's qualified with a first score of 55. Can he improve on that? He's certainly be hoping to do so. As he slams through the gears and fires it down the straight into that first corner. Oh, washes wide, Dave.
Yeah,
washing very wide.
Bit of a mistake for Chris Brady there as he fires into that. Now he's got to get himself back on track pretty quickly, because those points he's bleeded on the first corner, he's going to have to try and really impress the judges to get back into it from this point on.
Yeah, look, it's a big long track. There's lots of places to pick up scores along the way, and Chris getting nice and wide in the teardrop. The judges will be looking at it and saying, yeah, that's what we want to see. And if Chris can finish this in style here and just hold his composure through the final section of the circuit, could we see him jump into one of those 24 positions and into battle action? Obviously making the big trip down from Northern Ireland here this weekend. And
yeah, let's see if Chris Brady can up his game here and get himself into the mix for the top 24. 61.3 means he does not make the top 24, unfortunately, for Chris Brady, and that is just outside the score needed to get in. So again, another man not going to be hunting for that €20,000 today. And Chris Burnett is our next driver up on the line, the civil engineer from Armagh, 600 horsepower. And a good first run for Chris Burnett, seeing him in 5th position at the moment. He's inside the top 8. I mean, at the moment, he automatically goes through to the top 16. So he has no pressure on this run whatsoever. So essentially, he can go and try and contest now with McKeever, Larner, and McBurney for the top 3 slots here. And I think that's going to be a nice position for Chris Burnett. He's going to enjoy this run.
Yeah, hashtag CB58, hashtag go daddy go. Here we go. Chris Burnett on his second run of qualifying. Can he improve on that 83? Can he go top? Fires it, Dave, through that first corner. Nice line. And Chris Burnett looking very consistent here so far this weekend. And you know what? He would just watch that.
Yeah, one wheel off the track.
You can just see where there's a different colors of tarmac and then concrete, and just out onto that concrete is just a little bit too wide.
Well, the concrete is essentially a wheel off, Eddie, and that's what the judges are saying, that the concrete is almost to save you rather than where you should be. Chris just did get saved by it and stayed on track, but you know what? He's looking very strong today. I think Chris Burnett's a real contender here today. He looks like that car stays going. He's one of the strongest guys out there on the grid.
Yeah, Chris Burnett, a driver that on his day is capable of taking down anybody in the business, and certainly with €20,000 for grabs, I would imagine he will be stepping up his game a little bit today. 77.3, not able to better his first run, but sits in 5th position, Dave, and showing that consistency that we talked about. All important consistency, especially when it comes to battles, to be able to do that qualifying line on a consistent basis, very important for how you will progress through the competition. So we move on to the next driver to leave the line for his second run of qualifying, which is Liam Devlin. Liam Devlin needs a big run here, Dave. A 53 scored on the first run. Not enough to see him inside that top 24 at the moment. And just see.
Okay, so Marshall's saying there might be an issue with Liam Devlin's car. Is he out of the car right now? He is. I'm not sure
helmet
what.
off as well. Throws that helmet in. This is not looking good for Liam Devlin, Dave.
He might have. Do you know what? With the grip that's out there, and that we have a warm-up box up there for the guys warm their tires. We were saying there's so much rubber laid down in the warm-up box. It's actually very, very, very hard for cars to stay together even warming tires.
So we're hearing, just waiting for confirmation. He's leaving the line and he is heading back to the pits, Dave. That means that will be, if I'm not mistaken, the end of Liam Devlin's weekend. I don't believe that a 53.3 is enough to be inside that top 24 at the moment.
Yeah, so they broke a mount on the differential is what, in the burnout box essentially is what happened to Liam Devlin. What an unfortunate way to go. So he finishes in 30th position, so outside the top 24. That is heartbreaking stuff. I mean, to break the car, warming the car up for a run to try and compete to get the car
spending probably 40 minutes, preparing yourself for that second run and trying to get your head back in the game.
Well, we recorded 52 degrees on the ground yesterday, Eddie, which of course is not going to be easy, especially when you're running very low tire pressures for maximum grip. So it's a lot of risk reward out there. A lot of drivers say they're upping their tire pressures because there's actually that much natural grip in the tires out there. Not even warming them in the burnout box, saying, I mean, it's 28 degrees here. There's no real reason to warm the tires. Brian Egan is our next driver up, and Brian Egan currently sitting not so bad, sort of up towards the top end of things. Last time I checked, he was in the top. He had a 77 on his first run. If it was enough for top 8 a little while ago, but a couple of guys have jumped up there. He's in 9th position at the moment, Eddie, which means he's going to have to put in a better run to guarantee he's into the top 16 straight away. I think the pressure's off. Let's see what Brian Egan's got in the Delta with R32 here as he throws it in. Expect a big feint entry, which we're seeing.
Yeah, Brian always looking to put on a show, especially when the pressure is off on the second run. Look at the angle and speed that he carries through that clip zone 3. Now, just dials on a little bit too much angle, gets a wheel off track and causes a spin. And that will be a 0 on the second run for the Delta driver. But round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as he passes by you in the grandstand.
You can see him hammering the steering wheel saying, I don't know what I did there, but I was trying for the big run.
Yeah, I think Brian would probably be happier going off between clip 2 and 3 there with, a big aggressive entry than where he did end up going off, but he will be back. He is going to have to battle though, Dave, to get himself into the top 16 later on this afternoon.
Yeah, score 77, probably safe enough in 9th position at the moment for battle action. So again, not that much pressure, still got to fight their way from the back though. And these guys will get an extra battle in the sudden death top 24, not make it automatically through to the top 16. So look at this, Pete Nielsen on the lines, adjusting his helmet, getting ready for his run. Has to improve as well, Eddie.
He certainly does. Sits on his 65, currently in the drop zone, 24th position for Pete Nielsen. So he has to beat his own score to just keep himself up the order here. Can we see? But you know what? Pete generally so technically correct and very fluid. Dials on a big angle, but nice hugging that. Those 3 marker zones on the track for the judges are using to see what line these drivers are taking through that first corner. A little bit shallow though from Pete, maybe not as wide or as deep as some of the other guys on the grid through Link ECU.
Yeah, but
look at this, tagging the wall there, Dave. Very wide. Technically perfect from Pete Nielsen. A former judge, of course, knows that the line is all important to get yourself into the game, and this was a big run. Just couldn't get the nose of the car into that final clipping zone, but he crossed the line and expect that one to be
and of course,
a substantial improvement on the first
building
run.
a new car and sort of this one slowly dying, as he says himself, throughout each round with less horsepower every time they map it.
Yeah, expecting this car to possibly blow up at the over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, well, you'd hate if it was the final. That's all I'm going to say. At the moment, Pete Nielsen, will he improve on his first score? Looked like everyone's up in their game a little bit now, Eddie. The nerves are gone a little bit from the grid. They're starting to put in some very solid runs. 12th position for Pete Nielsen with a 75.3. Very good technical run from him there. But just not maybe the big smoke and impact we're going to see, but it's not even possible really for Pete in certain areas there.
No, but the man that did have a lot of impact on his first run and went top at the time was Joe Doyle, who sits on the line ready to take to the circuit. He gets the go from the marshals. Can he improve on an 85? Can he beat a 91.7 laid down by McKeever? Can he go top? Here we go. Joe Doyle fires it in to the Mondello circuit, ready for war in this impeccable R33 Skyline. Takes it nice and wide through link engine management corner and dials on big angle as he looks to take the car into those transitional zones nicely onto the wall, but just couldn't get deep enough to have a smooth run through the teardrop section of the circuit that may impact the score, but now switches it back nicely. A very tricky section of the circuit as these guys try and transition one way and then the other, and over the line for Joe Doyle.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone would have picked Joe Doyle as a contender this morning, but I'm starting to look at Joe Doyle and saying I would like to be going up against this guy. He looks very comfortable out there. 2 big runs from Joe Doyle means he's consistently and confident, and I think his first score will probably be higher, but it is inside the top 8, so someone in the top 16 is going to get a very on-form Joe Doyle later on today.
They certainly are, and a 75.3 for him on his second run means he stays where he is. 4th position for Joe Doyle, and job done for him. He will be delighted with that as he gets himself a well-earned break back in the pits. Now we move it along to Kieran Casey, who also sits on a very reputable score from his first run, a 74.7. You can just see on your screens Dennis Murphy now in 24th position in the drop zone, and a nervous wait for him as Casey looks to lead the line.
Yeah, Casey doing a good job again. A first solid run in. Now can he push that? He's going for a bigger feint entry here. As you can see, drivers very late entry though. That could have cost him here. Missing clip 2 completely. He will get 3, but judges have spotted that miss of the inside of the corner. But Casey, come on, leaps and bounds in the last couple of rounds. Eddie, looking like a real contender. And he's a very aggressive chase driver. So when he gets into those battles, that's when he really shines.
Yeah, but it just goes to show all the practice that these guys get to lay down and tag the wall. Yeah, really heavy hit, Dave, as you say, and just unsettles that run. And I'm sure Kieran, just bows out of this one.
That was
knows he has his first run in the bag. Yeah. No need to put any further damage on the car.
Yeah, it's a pretty big
but
shot
you
to
can
the
see
wall.
the difference that the practice with the pro drivers is making to his driving, and slowly becoming quickly becoming a very competent and big contender here in the pro class. 0 there on the board, just confirmation for Kieran Casey. That's 74 though on the first run, enough for 16th position in qualifying.
So we move it along in the order. You guys in Mondello having a good time at the prize fight? It's sunny in Mondello. You have to be a little bit impressed. I mean, it's borderline pleasant here. If I hear one person say it's too hot, I swear to God, punch in the face. Punch in the face. Give us 2. It's too hot? Right, hold on, getting down. Don't get out of the tower. We had 3 people melt yesterday. We had to get a mop and bucket towards the end of the Pro-Am final. So Mark McBurney's on the line. Mark McBurney sits in 3rd position. They said he hasn't got the horsepower to stay with the big dogs. Well, right now he's going to aim for a top qualifying position and expect something spectacular from Mark McBurney on this entry. Huge angle from Mark McBurney.
Yeah, it's time to turn to McBurney. Mark McBurney enters the circuit. Look at the angle of Dave. Like no one else on the circuit, just dials on big angle, scrubs that speed and just gets back on the power. And manages to make it look so smooth, fluid. And as he takes it nicely out over to the wall, Mark McBurney on for a big score here. Feathering that throttle nicely now, just slowing that car into the final section and back on the power. Pinpoint actually collects all those clips.
Mark McBurney is in the game here today. We talked about an underdog coming through when the moment was right, and I think Mark McBurney might have even topped his first score there. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not judging it, but it looked to me that he even tidied up the last section that he did on the last run. Mark McBurney is definitely a contender today, and of course when you look at all the horsepower figures around, you'd say maybe not, but this guy can drive an 80.3. Mark McBurney stays in 3rd position, but Mark McBurney, we've been waiting for this moment for him to shine through with the natural talent he has, and we've just watched it.
Yeah, a lot of guys stepping up their game here, Dave. An 86 and an 80 from McBurney, and he is showing that he is one to be considered for top spot this weekend. We move it on though to Kevin Quinn, who leaves the line with a 75 scored on the first run. What can he do now? The Quinn coach hire.
Coming in very aggressive here, Eddie, on the sort of transition, and you can tell Kevin Quinn really wants this, and he's very hard on the car as well. You can hear how much, look at the angle, will he hold it? No!
Yeah, he gets caught in the sand.
You can hear the scrape of the chassis as he drops off the circuit, and he won't be happy with that one.
Yeah, look, I think getting a little bit confused with the sunshine, a day at the beach or a day at drifting, he's not really sure, and goes off the circuit there, but he has that 75 under his belt, and certainly a man who is getting better round after round, and it's only a matter of time before he takes home a trophy for first place at IDC or BDC. Will it be today? Well, you know what? Only time is going to tell, but certainly not doing enough on that second run. You can see a 0 dropping in for him. He stays in 15th position, meaning he will have to battle to get into the top 16. One of the most interesting profile pictures, though, has Kevin Quinn.
He does have
showing
a
his
phenomenal,
personality.
phenomenal profile picture. He wins in that every time. So next up, Shane O'Sullivan, the man who has hit the podium over 20 times in his drift career, which spans over 13 years in the Irish Drift Championship. He has won the UK Championship, but never a round of the Irish Drift Championship. Well, today, of all days, would be the one to win. And as he celebrated the birth of his baby boy yesterday morning, he's here to try and lay it down as he always does in the Jap Speed driving style S15. And look at this great line from Shane O'Sullivan so far.
Yeah, this is really good so far. Shane O'Sullivan is, well, doing what Shane O'Sullivan does, and look at this as he throws it onto the wall in the Jap Speed S15, shreds those Maxxis tires. Could this be the day that Shane O'Sullivan takes home a very well-deserved first place at the Irish Drift Championship? With runs like that,
great run from
he
Shane
is definitely
O'Sullivan.
going to be a contender.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, you can never count Shane O'Sullivan out of any competition on any day. He
No,
has
sits
that.
in 9th at the championship as well, Dave. So very important for him to, score good championship points today, just to keep his hopes of taking home the championship alive.
Absolutely, and we wait for the score for Shane O'Sullivan. 78.3 puts him into the top 8 in 7th position. So if it stays as it is, he will avoid a sudden death battle and go straight through to the top 16, as we're used to seeing. As you can see, a lot of guys suffering massively with cooling in these cars due to the fact that the
first run, will it be enough? You can just see if you're watching on a